Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Hello, Mack Pack. It's great to be back with you for another episode of our program. This is On the Move with Mack Worley. I, of course, am your host, Mack Worley III. This is a show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. We talk about all sorts of things on this program. We talk about government, philosophy, guns. We talk about all sorts of stuff. And today's episode is titled, Mack Wins Appeal. We have a special guest. His name is CJ Grisham. He's going to be joining us in about 15 minutes, and I'm really excited to have him on the program because, I don't necessarily believe in fate. I like to believe that I'm in control of my actions, but I have noticed over the last few years some serendipity at play here, and it just seems like more and more I learn about something. And this may be kind of the effect. I'll give you an example. This may be like when you buy a car, and you've never seen that car on the road, you don't know much about that car, and you buy the car, and suddenly you start seeing that car everywhere you go. Every time you go down a street, you see 5 of them parked on the street, and you're like, wow, I see this car everywhere. So it may be some of that at play, but I feel like I'll learn about something, and then immediately after that, it's a topic that comes up for discussion. And I just recently dove into this, deep dived into this, and I've researched the crap out of this topic that we're talking about. I've seen this with school. I've seen this where I've done college homework, and I'm writing an essay on something, and then that something I haven't ever heard anybody talk about this before, or it's not been a hot topic recently, and then suddenly that topic is in the forefront of our news feed, our news cycles. So I see that a lot. But in addition, let me talk about some of the serendipity that's happening right now. Again, I am Mack, and this episode is titled Mack Wins Appeal. This is episode 119 of the program. If you don't know what's going on with my court case, I was unlawfully arrested for open carrying in an open carry state. It's completely legal, completely lawful to open carry in Washington State. I went through the ringer on this. I'm going to talk a lot about this in a moment. But when this happened, my first trial, because this was the appeal, my first trial, I was found guilty, and that shocked me. I could not believe that the jury decided that I was guilty of violating a law displaying a weapon. It's RCW 9.41.270. It's displaying a weapon in a manner under circumstances and in a time and place that would warrant alarm for the safety of others. Now, this law, it's been, narrowed 2 times in the Supreme Court. The first time it gave it a reasonable person standard, and then the second time it was narrowed, it was defined as a reasonable person knows what the law is. So if a reasonable person sees somebody walking down the street carrying a firearm, and they know that it's legal, then that reasonable person should have no reason to feel threatened or alarmed in any way, because no unlawful activity has been done at any point. You're just talking about completely lawful activity. And you can go through a range of other things that are completely legal and lawful, but some people may find offensive. And we can talk about how, maybe you could lump in the same category 2 homosexual people kissing. Some people find that objectionable, and you know what? You don't have a right to restrict that. If they want to kiss in public, they want to show some public a display of affection, they have every right to do that. Just like I have every right to carry my firearm for the purpose of self-defense. And this is what I'm talking about. The police are not there to try to enforce feelings. They don't enforce feelings. They enforce the law. If there's not a law that is broken, yeah, they can come up and talk to somebody, but they can't detain them. If they don't have reasonable suspicion, probable cause, they can't detain them. They can't force you to talk to them. So the serendipity that's happening on this episode, I think is pretty interesting, because my episode of the podcast, I don't remember how long ago this was. It was over a year ago. well over a year ago, we had C.J. Grisham. He's the guy from Open Carry, Texas, folks. I'm a big fan of his. I like the guy. We've talked. I had him on that episode when I was releasing the information about me losing my first trial and how we were going to appeal. And now, this was not planned. This just worked out this way. I had booked C.J. Grisham for last week, or I tried to book him for last week, and he couldn't do it. And he said, "Hey, let's do this week instead." And I said, "Okay, yeah, that works." And then a few days before he comes on the show today, I've got news about my appeal. We won. We won the appeal, and we're going to get into all the details about that. So, again, C.J. Grisham, he's going to be talking to us about Open Carry in Texas. He's got his organization, Open Carry Texas, some of the things that they've been doing down there. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. I'd actually like to hear his take on what's going on with the political atmosphere here in America. I'm curious what his thoughts are on this. And then, obviously I'm going to be talking about my Open Carry trial. I'm going to give you guys all the dirty details from the beginning to the end and let you guys hear what has happened. This has been what was that? I think it was a 3-year process. I think this happened in 2013 was when I was arrested. It's 2016. It was June 29th, 2013 when I was arrested. And just now, after all of this time, after all of the games they played, hiding the ball, making me waive my right to a speedy trial, and we'll get into all of this. After it's all said and done, almost 3 years of me fighting against the machine. And finally, justice has prevailed. My case the criminal case is over. That's done. We won. We spanked them something fierce. They weren't expecting somebody that would just continue fighting no matter what. They weren't expecting it. They didn't think that somebody out there would actually be principled and not take deals, not roll over and take a plea deal to a lesser charge. They thought that they could just pressure and manipulate me and I would fold. And, if it was just me, if it was just my specific case, maybe I would have. I don't think I would have, but I wasn't out there trying to defend just my right to defend my life. I wasn't fighting for just my right to bear arms. I'm fighting for the right for everyone. I'm fighting for my posterity, for my children in the future, for future generations. I do not want to be the last American generation that has the right to bear arms. I don't want to be the last generation that has freedom. And I also don't want to be forced in a situation where my kids are asking me, "Dad, what did you do?" I don't have children right now, by the way. But one day when I do, I don't want to be put in that position where my children say, what did you do when all of this was going on? What actions did you take to fight against this? I'm gonna have a list of things that I've done if that day ever comes. And I hope it never does. I hope I'm wrong about the outcome of the future, gang. I've been telling you things are looking bleak for the future. We're at a point now in our history where we're choosing between one progressive candidate and one progressive candidate. There is no difference in the outcome, in my personal opinion. The government, no matter what the election outcome is going to grow. And this Leviathan is only going to start to get more influence, more control over your life. So, if it was just me, maybe I would have rolled over. But I'm not just out there fighting for me, and I know I have so much support out there from you guys, and it means a lot, honestly. I've been in communication with you all since this happened. Members of the Mack Pack, people who just have an interest in the Second Amendment. I appreciate your support. You do not know how much it means to me, and I'm extremely grateful. So, let's go ahead and, in the last featured topic of today, by the way, we're going to talk about why this is a year for the Libertarian Party. I'm going to break it down, why I think that conservatives should be voting for the Libertarian Party. We touched on this last week. I'm going to continue it a little bit as well. And we've got a whole lot of other news that we can get to as well. So, anyway, we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. Before we do, I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that we have some awesome t-shirts for sale on our store. If you go to OnTheMoveShow.com, that is OnTheMoveShow.com, click on the shop link. You'll see I believe we have four different shirts, 3 different designs really. We have the I Heart Open Carry t-shirt, which is my personal favorite. I just ordered 2 of those, and I can't wait for them to get there. They look awesome. These are original designs by my wife, who came up with this idea. She thought it would be awesome. I really love the design, so much so that I want it for myself. Really awesome shirt. We also got the Bear Arms shirt. It's a picture of a bear with the word arms written over it. Very funny. And we have the Be Libertarian shirt. It's a really awesome design. Check it out. That's OnTheMoveShow.com. Again, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link, and it'll take you right there. We also have a gear store where we got plenty of books for sale, tactical items, gun gear, prepping, survival, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, if that speaks to you, we have it available for sale right now on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. Click the shop link. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we should be on the line very shortly with CJ Grisham, if all goes well. And we'll be talking about what happened to him, because he was unlawfully arrested as well. If any of you would like to join today's conversation, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can message us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can get us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. And also, don't forget to check out our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. You can follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. All right, so we'll be right back. You guys don't want to miss what's coming up next.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Hey, Mack Pack, we are back, and we are now joined with who I believe is CJ Grisham. Hey, CJ, are you on the line?
I am.
Oh, great. It's, first of all, great to talk with you, man. I'm a huge fan, and I'm happy that you've graced us with your presence a second time. So thank you so much for joining us. First of all, before we get into anything, I'd like to give our guests an opportunity to plug anything that they got going on. So if you have any social media, website, any kind of movements you're working on in Texas there, feel free to blast it out now.
Yeah, sure. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all CJ Grisham. I'm with Open Carry Texas. One of the things that we are fighting for is constitutional carry. And we're in a lull right now. This year is an off year for the Texas legislature, so we're kind of really working on finding out who's going to be in the legislature next year. But you can go to opencarrytexas.org. Although we're having some glitches on our website, so it might not look as snazzy as it normally does. But still, there's some good information there about what we're fighting for and what we've accomplished so far. So opencarrytexas.org, cjgrisham.com, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff.
Yes, sir. Okay, so A lot has changed since you and I have last talked. So, with your criminal case, the city had, I believe it was Temple, Texas, that was prosecuting you for your open carry case. Can you bring us up to date on everything that's happened and where we are now with that situation?
Well, sure. So March 16th was the arrest of 2013. The first trial was October of 2013. The second trial was November of 2013, and our appeal that we filed was February of 2014, and we are still waiting on that appeal to be heard. So it's been sitting there for almost 2.5 years, just waiting for the appellate court to do something. So it's really just sitting in limbo. So I wish it was moving along. Our civil suits, we ended up having to drop because the judge decided that since I was found guilty in my criminal case, even though it's still an appeal, I had no basis for a civil trial. So we ended up having to throw that out because the system protects itself in any way possible, and there's no such thing as justice if that's if the basis for a civil suit is whether or not a guilty verdict was given, regardless of the fact that the guilty verdict was for a crime that I wasn't arrested for. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually had that same thing happen to me as well as far as my civil case. One of the reasons why I haven't even started a civil case yet is because of the conviction that they got me for the first trial. You remember my situation, right? We talked about it last time you were on the show.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so they had the same exact scam that they had set up. My rights were clearly violated on so many different levels that I'm going to be talking about later in the show, as far as how they handled the evidence, how they forced me to waive my right to a speedy trial several times, not just once, twice, 3 times. I think it was 4 or 5 times I had to waive my right to a speedy trial because they were withholding the evidence. But in addition to that, I couldn't even pursue a civil case because I have I had a conviction on my record from the arrest. It's hard to sue for a wrongful arrest when it led to a conviction. As you stated, it happened to me as well. So I can empathize with what you're going through. I'll tell you, just hang on. Hey, keep fighting, man, because I know a lot of people are out there rooting for you on this, myself included. And I'm evidence right now that if you just continue to wear them down and force them to keep throwing money and spending resources on this, eventually they'll either give up or you'll win because you're legally within the right. So more power to you. So let's ask, what has happened in your life now? How are things different since this unlawful arrest?
Well, before I get into that, let me go back a little bit. We've actually, let's not talk about what's different in my life yet, but what's different with the landscape here in Temple.
Okay.
Since that arrest, and just since the arrest, there have been about a half dozen cops that have been arrested or fired for wrongdoing in this police department. 3 of, in the last, just since our case was thrown out, 3 Temple PD officers have been arrested around the state. So, one was arrested in El Paso, one was arrested for assault, one was arrested down in Port Aransas for assault, and now we've got one here in Temple for assault. So, when my case gets overturned, and if there's any justice at all left in the American justice system, my case will be overturned. We are going to refile our civil suit. And I think we've got a much better chance because there's a pattern. Temple Police Department has a pattern of assaulting citizens, of assaulting their own families, of assaulting children, of assaulting women. And if they think they can get away with that, it's not going to happen. So that's what's changed in the landscape. I think, it's something that we're going to have to really, really discuss because it's a stressful thing for a family to go through, any case, whether it's civil or criminal.
Yeah.
But I think if we refile our civil suit, we may have a much better chance. But I'm going to go over that with my lawyers and my family. As for me, a lot's changed. I've retired since my arrest. I retired last February last year. So, and I went back to school. this last weekend, or yesterday, I graduated with my associate's degree in pre-law. I'm moving on to a 4-year university at A&M here in the fall, hopefully. We started Open Carry Texas, and Open Carry Texas is the most successful gun rights organization in such a short amount of time. We got more accomplished in one session than, let's just say, the leading organizations have done in 20 years. Mm-hmm. And we did that through activism. We did that through holding our politicians accountable. We did that through pressure, through phone calls, through activism, through getting people off their butts, and instead of just sending a check every month to some organization, do something. You know, don't let them do all the work for you, because then they get to decide the pace. And so when the people decide the pace, we stop this step-stooling return of our rights. You know, well, we'll give you this time, and you know what, we'll fight for this next time. We're just not going to get there right now. So those are some of the things that have really changed in my life. Obviously, the retirement, the school, but you know, we still have this case hanging over our head, so it's kind of hard to really feel like we're moving on. Mm-hmm. The other thing is the arrest down in Austin. I think we talked about that, where I was carrying a toy gun. So 8 of us banded together to sue the Department of Public Safety for all these false arrests at the Capitol and around the Capitol. And of those 8, 5 were thrown out for qualified immunity, which is another scam. And 3 of us, mine included, we overcame that scrutiny of the qualified immunity. So our civil suit against those cops, and 3 of us that are able to go forward, all 3 of us had toy or fake guns, you know, rubber guns or toy guns. Mm-hmm. And so the cops should have known better. As soon as they found out that we were carrying toy guns, immediately we should have been released. So since that didn't happen, our cases are able to go forward. So we are fighting for some justice. And then I guess the other big thing right now that we're working on while we're waiting for the elections to resolve, so we know who to start going after for gun bills next year, is suing state agencies who are wrongfully excluding gun owners from being able to carry inside public buildings. Passed last year that makes it a civil offense for any government entity to put up a sign that bans the open or concealed carry of a firearm. And the AG has been working really tirelessly with us, the Attorney General of Texas, and he's been putting these cities in place like they're supposed to. All we have to do is do all the legwork, and that's what we've been doing. We've been filing complaints against police departments, city councils, county commissioners, sheriff's departments, utilities companies. I mean, you name it. If it's a public entity and they put up a sign, we're going after them. And so far, we've got a near unanimous winning streak.
So is this because there's a state preemption that says that cities can't do that? Okay. Yeah, we had the same thing in Washington State when I was there. A lot of the same stuff. So you're by filing the complaints about things that they're doing, you're actually illustrating how they're violating the state preemption and getting it taken care of on that end. But somebody has to go out there and actually do something, like make them, either kick you out or deny you access to the property or something. It's a public property, and in order for you to even have the complaint. So in order to challenge it, you have to first have a complaint.
Not even that. All we have to do is take a picture of the sign on the building, and we have to file a complaint first with that entity. So if it's a police department, we got to file it with the police department or the city or something like that. We give them 10 days to fix it. If they don't fix it, we go to the AG. The AG is pretty backlogged right now because he's got hundreds of complaints right now that they have to sift through. And so once the 10 days is expired, generally what we do is we give them an extra day. And I say, okay, your 10 days is up. The signs are still there. Tomorrow we're filing our complaint with the AG. Instead of wasting taxpayer money, are you just going to do the right thing and take the signs down? 9.9 times out of 10, they say, sue me. I mean, that is government's response to obeying the law, is sue me. Mm-hmm. you know, imagine doing that to a police officer. Imagine a police officer saying, you know what, you're speeding. Okay, well, sue me. See you later. Goodbye. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that? Or what? You know, you're stealing some alcohol out of a liquor store, and you know the cop stops you and catches you red-handed. Well, sue me. See you later. You can't do anything to me. If you think I'm, but no, you can't throw government in jail. You can't throw them behind bars and make them bond out.
Yeah.
And they've got unlimited resources. They spend our money to fight against our rights, and then when they're caught red-handed, they say, okay, well, we'll spend your money to fight you some more. It's proof that we no longer have control of our government. We are no longer the masters of our government, but instead we are being lorded over as serfs and as you know, the proletariat.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. Minus the proletariat part, because that's a little Marxist is philosophy there. But I was right about to say the same thing. As far as you know, these government officials are. They're supposed to be public servants. At its core, that's what public office was intended to be, and they are treating us lesser than they expect to be treated themselves. They're treating us like we're the servants and not the masters, which it's supposed to be the other way around. I completely agree with you. So one of the things you said, and I actually want to touch on here, I don't know if did you listen to the first few minutes of the program?
You know, I didn't. I got my hours wrong because I didn't realize there was a time difference.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I figured. I figured that's what happened. So I was talking about a little bit of serendipity that's happening. One of those things is, first of all, you did your open carry. I didn't even know about your open carry until after mine. Mine was in June. Yours was what, in March? Is that right?
In March, yep.
Okay, so I did my open carry. Then we found each other through that, basically, and then I had you on my show. And when I had you on last time, I was talking about my first trial results. When you came on the show, we were talking about how I had just gotten convicted of displaying a weapon in Washington State. So now I have news that I won my appeal, and it just so happens that you're coming on the show at the same time as well. So you know, every time I have a case update, I have you on the show. It's pretty.
That is awesome. That's awesome that you won your appeal.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like I said, it's second hour of the program. I'm going to be talking all about it to everybody, give everybody the gory details. But as far as one thing that you said, you mentioned that you're going to be taking pre-law. Is that well, let me ask, why did you decide to go pre-law?
Well, pre-law was mostly just to take care of my basic courses as well as some of the criminology-type courses that are available in a community college. So what it is that lays the groundwork for being able to get into a law school, and you already knocked out all the stuff that has literally nothing to do with law, other than like criminology and evidence or criminal evidence techniques and things like that. Mm-hmm. So by the time I get into law school, then I'll have all that stuff knocked out. So it really is just a pre-law. It's just knocking everything out prior to going to law school so that you can focus on law school.
Was your plan always to go to law school after your service in the military? Which, by the way, I haven't said thank you for your service. It should be noted that you are a veteran, and that's what you were retiring from when you mentioned that. So my hat's off to you.
Actually, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I don't think I always wanted to be a lawyer. I think I wanted to go into corporate security. I worked in national security in the military. My job was to protect the nation's secrets, to find those that were giving away or selling our secrets, and stop terrorists. So I wanted to kind of do the same thing in the corporate world. I wanted to be able to protect trade secrets. I wanted to be able to protect intellectual property and things like that. Do analysis of security vulnerabilities and things like that. That was really what I wanted to go into. And then when this happened to me, and as I started looking around and seeing, like your case, when I saw your case happen, there were 19 cases around Texas after mine. Mm-hmm. and I see them every single day. And what I also recognize is how difficult it is to sue government. Not just because you have to overcome, this just, I think, unconstitutional burden of immunity, but finding an attorney to take your case. Because these aren't, people don't get rich off of suing a cop for false arrest. Because typically the person that is falsely arrested is a guy like you and me. We're not rich. Yeah. We're just regular everyday people. If we were rich, we wouldn't have been thrown in jail.
Yeah.
So, lawyers tend to know that we don't have disposable income, and it's just not lucrative. And so I changed course. I wanted to go into law because I want to protect people like you, and I want to protect people like those 19 people that have been arrested in Texas, who it's nearly impossible. I had to go to Dallas, Fort Worth, and I live in Temple, Texas. There's Waco, San Antonio, Austin, a few other places that are a lot closer than Dallas, Fort Worth, and I couldn't find a single attorney in any of those big cities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To take my case. I had to go all the way to Dallas, Fort Worth. And definitely nobody within the county would take my case. So it's the profession needs people that are willing to stand up for our rights and don't care. I'm retired military, so it's not like I need a client pool full of paying spouse abusers or deadbeat dads to make a living and be able to survive. I can pick and choose my cases. Mm-hmm.
So it's, as I was mentioning the serendipity here, you hit that point this is why I asked what's different in your life since the event, because my life is completely different. This arrest that happened to me has changed my course dramatically. I am now, first of all, I'm different as a person. It's made me dive into a lot of areas that I wouldn't have necessarily dove into, like, for example, this podcast and YouTube and things like that. I started doing the podcast after my arrest, primarily because I was like very robotronic on camera, so YouTube wasn't working out for me. Just doing that, so the audio of it, the audio side made it a lot easier. I felt a lot less stress, but also my direction changed as well. And you mentioned pre-law. This is why I'm harping on this. I am going to law school after I graduate college in November, and I never intended ever to be a lawyer. But after this, I realize all the things you're talking about. It's so difficult to find somebody who will fight for you as an attorney. So to find someone who will stand up for your rights and is passionate about it, like I am and like you are and many others are out there. And they're not overly greedy. There's nothing wrong with making money. I have no issues with that. But I want to help people who were in a similar situation like myself, who find themselves caught up in the machine. Because what has happened, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well. I never had a concealed carry permit, so I open carried. And I was arrested for open carrying. And in doing that, I've now basically been denied, because especially when I was convicted, they hung a suspended sentence basically over my head. If I got arrested again for jaywalking, I was going to do a year in jail. And thankfully they suspended the sentence. But what that did is deny me any Second Amendment right whatsoever, because I couldn't apply for a concealed carry permit anymore, and I couldn't open carry for fear of getting arrested for no reason like I was the last time. So they literally denied me my right to bear arms, and I know other people find themselves in this situation. You don't have a lot of income, you don't know what to do or who to turn to, you can't find somebody who will take the case. This is a need in our society, and this is why I've decided to go into law as well. I plan on studying the constitutional side of law. I'm not really interested in domestic abuse or things like that, or contract law. That stuff doesn't interest me. But I want to help people who are having their constitutionally protected rights violated. So again, it's very funny that we're on the same path, and we don't talk every day or anything. Last time I talked to you was like over a year ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I mean, other than retweeting some of your stuff, and other than that, I mean, no, we haven't spoken. And I think what happens to guys like you and me, and let me know if you're different than this. But I used to be. I've kind of been in the public spotlight for a long time. I've been an advocate of things. I've always been an advocate of gun rights. I've never been an activist. I wrote about things. I wrote about gun rights. I wrote about national security stuff. I was a blogger, and a pretty popular blogger as well. I fought the system. I fought the Army over free speech. I fought my school system over parental rights. I was at the first Tea Party event in Huntsville, Alabama in 2009. I've always, I fought Code Pink over the war in Iraq back in 2005 and 6. But what I've always been is I've always been extremely I've always had a lot of respect for the system. I always thought we had a great system. I always thought that our police officers were there to protect us. I thought that I was just very blind. Mm-hmm. And what the arrest did, and this is how it changed me, is it opened my eyes. It not only opened my eyes to the reality that we really don't have any rights. And when we feel like we have rights, it's only because the government has allowed us to feel that way. Because when they don't want you to exercise those rights, they do what they did to you, and they do what they did to me. And I realized that no longer will I be blindly obedient to someone just because they wear a badge. No longer will I be blindly obedient to someone just because they call on a judge. No longer will I be blindly obedient to anything just because they work in government. And what it's also opened my eyes to is how many people don't understand that. Their eyes haven't been opened yet. And so when I criticize a police officer for violating the rights of somebody, or I criticize, an officer who is harassing an open carrier, and the open carrier is exercising his right to not be harassed by not answering any questions, I'm somehow anti-cop, because society is just like I used to be, and probably just like you used to be. Mm-hmm. We used to think that, at least for the most part, we were protected, that there were people out there fighting to ensure our constitutional rights were protected, that they put on that uniform, whether it was a camouflage uniform or a blue or khaki uniform with a badge on it, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and protect our rights. And so I actually live in a much different world in that sense, because I'm no longer ignorant of reality, and I see things for what they are. Now, I will give I give everybody respect. I don't care if you wear a badge or not. You earn my respect until you have my respect until you give me a reason not to give it to you. But I don't respect you just because you wear a name tape that says U.S. Army, or just because you have a badge on, or just because you've been elected. That's not how you get my respect. You get my respect because you're a human being. But no longer will there be blind obedience. And so that's where I think my life has been the most affected. And I don't know, and I guess I'd like to know, were you in that similar situation, or were you already one of those people that really questioned everything?
Well, I've always questioned things. I've always been just inquisitive in my nature, but at the same time, and to this day, I still have the utmost respect for police officers. The only stipulation here that I've added since my unlawful arrest is oath-keeping peace officers, people who are upholding the Constitution, and they realize that their duty, their job is to protect our rights, not to violate them. So before I was in the blind category of, if you have on a uniform and a shining badge, you have my utmost respect, and I'll do whatever you tell me to do. But when I was faced with people who, very first time that they approached me, on the approach, they have weapons drawn, pointed at my chest, and they're telling me to turn off my camera and demanding my papers after they've admitted that they have no reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain me. This is really what opened my eyes, and even more so when I was found guilty, I realized how corrupt this whole system is, and for me, I'm falling back to the Dr. Martin Luther King strategy of you treat people based upon their actions and the conduct of their character. I don't care what color your uniform is. You'll get respect from me as a human being, as I should give to another person. Not that I'm required to, but it's a courteous thing to do, to treat others with respect. And the moment you do something that shows me that you're not providing the same respect back, is when I change the way I talk to them, the how I react, what I'm going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really kind of sad in my situation because, I always have, as a matter of fact, before I joined the Army, I was on tap to go into law enforcement. And I took, when I was in high school, I went to a trade center where I took criminal justice, and I learned how to be a police officer. I was an explorer, so I went out on ride-alongs with police officers. I helped direct traffic at special events. I mean, I wore a cool little explorer badge, with my little uniform, and then when I joined the military, I wanted to be an MP. Now I was too short at the time, so I went into something else. So I'm kind of glad I did because I really liked my career field. But all of that is just for me anyway. It's completely changed. I mean, I've gotten to the point where okay, I respect you as a person. But quite frankly, if you're a cop, I just do not want to talk to you. I mean, it's not personal. It's just I don't want to talk to you because I no longer know what the agenda is of this individual that's talking to me. I don't know if they're trying to trap me.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to fish for something. I don't know if they're searching my vehicle while I'm distracted. I mean, I've lost that innocence that, and it's kind of a weird thing to say as a 42-year-old man, but I mean, I've lost that innocence that I've felt when it came to police officers. I simply have no trust. I mean, trust and respect are different things. You can have respect for someone and still not trust them. And that's the biggest thing that's changed. And quite frankly, no one, I mean, there are some people that can, but for the most part, you cannot understand that mindset until it's happened to you or someone close to you. Mm-hmm. And so obviously my entire family feels that way because it's happened to our entire family, even though they weren't there that day, but they've seen it. My close friends, they saw it. They saw it in the courtroom. They saw it on the side of the road. And hopefully a lot of people saw it when they watched your video and then when they watched my video and when they've watched these hundreds of videos that seem to come out every single day, and everyone thinks that we're out to get police, and they don't realize all we're doing is recording what would have happened even without the camera, and probably worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually leads us to a pretty important question, because I'm sure, like me, you've had the same exact accusations levied against you. You know, people saying that you're out there to prove a point, or you're out there trying to antagonize the police, or something along those lines. Personally, I didn't go out to try to have a conflict with police. In fact, if you watch my video, it's on YouTube / OnTheMoveShow. If you check it out, you'll see that there was a police car in the street, and I was on my way to approach it. I was going to talk to them, but once they pointed guns at me, once they demanded that I turn off my phone multiple times, which was acting as a camera, once they did that, and then they demanded my ID, I realized that I'm not going to talk to these people. There's no reason for me to talk to these guys anymore. So I wasn't out trying to be rude or disrespectful or start a conflict with these people. I was out to actually make a video about how to lawfully open carry in the state of Washington, and this happened. So it was kind of the exact opposite of what I expected to happen. I thought maybe, I've seen a bunch of videos of open carry videos before where people have been harassed by the police and let go. I've seen people that were prevented from going to their car, but then they were eventually let go. I've seen videos where people were unlawfully arrested, but I've never seen a video where somebody was immediately had a weapons drawn approach from police officers, pointing guns at their chest, demanded that they turn off their camera, demanded their ID, admitted that they didn't have any reasonable suspicion or probable cause on camera, then would not allow that person to go to their vehicle to leave, and then arrested them for trespassing on a public sidewalk. I'd never seen that before, so there was no reason why I would have expected that to happen. So why were you on that day? Why were you open carrying? What was it about?
Well, literally, it was about self-defense. I live out in the country, and where I was hiking was out in the middle of the country. I wasn't in a neighborhood. I wasn't in a downtown. I wasn't on a busy commercial road. I was out in the country. And out in the country, we have wild boars. We have wildcats. Just any manner. So whether we're in our tractor or our truck or walking around, I have a rifle generally on me. And so we were hiking that day, and I had a rifle for self-defense, and that's literally all it was. And when I told that cop, when he asked, why do you have this? Because I can. That was about the most sincere answer I could have given him. I mean, I don't know why I needed a reason to have it. I was carrying it because I could. Yeah. And what a great country we live in. When I started Open Carry Texas, because of my experience, I intentionally wrote our mission statement with the clause that one of our missions is to foster a cooperative relationship with law enforcement to minimize negative encounters. And because I didn't want negative encounters, I wanted positive encounters. I would love if every video, and we've got on youtube.com/OpenCarryTexas, we've got some positive interactions with law enforcement. And I would love if every video was like that. But unfortunately, they weren't. We called police. Anytime we had an event, we would call them and let them know, hey, just so you know we're having an event, or just so you know I'm going on a walk. And in spite of that, officers would still show up and try to assert their authority and would try to lord over you and basically keep you from doing what you're doing. And that's why I open carry. And I do it now because we have to. If people are getting arrested because people aren't used to seeing people open carry, well, then the only way to fix that is to open carry.
Yeah.
If we had a problem with people wearing purple, and every time somebody wore purple, people would get freaked out, well, you don't change that culture by not wearing purple. You get more people wear purple. And so it's the same thing with open carry. Our goal was to change the mindset, was to change the narrative and the response to seeing somebody with a gun. We wanted to make it normal because that way people wouldn't get cops called on them. Or cops would show up and go, okay, he's just exercising his rights, move along. And it worked. In the first 6 months of our existence, like I said, we had 19 arrests, but the number of 911 calls dropped from nearly every time we carried to about 1 out of every 50 or 60 times we carried. Exactly. And so we've got a 99% drop in the number of 911 calls. And so it's not in your face. It's not in your face any more than, someone who dyes their hair purple being in your face. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I keep saying purple, but it's open carrying it's about expression. It's about reversing. There's a lot of reasons, but it's about reversing that narrative. For me, I open carry because I want people to finally stop being wusses. Is I guess the good way to put it. Stop being wusses about seeing guns in public. Let's get rid of this idea that only a cop is allowed to be seen in public and people can feel safe around guns. I carry because it's a visual deterrent. When they know that the people are armed, they're less likely to bother them. It's the ones that they don't know that are armed that they think they can victimize. And so those are just some of the reasons I open carry. I don't want a single interaction. I would be so happy if I never had to talk to another cop in my life. Mm-hmm. But I don't know of anyone. There are probably some out there, so I won't say that. But I can't think of anyone that goes out and open carries and goes, "Oh, I'm going to bait me some cops today," because that mentality when people go and say, "Oh, you're just looking for trouble. You're just baiting police." Well, you know what that really says? That really says that I have such a low opinion of law enforcement that they are just so stupid that when they see someone with a gun, they can't help but get themselves involved. It's like a mosquito that says it sees that bright light on the porch, and he's like, oh, I can't help it, but I've got to go zap. You know, that's what they think of cops. They think cops are mosquitoes. In a sense, they are. They're bloodsuckers. But they just think that they're so stupid and have no brains, and they can't help that when they see someone exercising their rights, they've got to get involved. I don't think that's the case. I think cops are pretty smart people. And I think the ones that do get involved think they're even smarter than they are, or they're so smart they think they're better than everyone else, and that's why they get involved. And then there are some that get involved and they're really cool about it. And they're like, hey, what you got? Oh, yeah, I got a DPMS. And they start talking to you about the different mod kits they put on their guns. And, well, okay, well, we got a call. If you guys have any trouble, you know, here's my card. Those are great. Those are the guys that they come up to you and you feel comfortable. But for those people that are out there saying that we're out there to bait cops, that open carry is just to be in your face, and open carry, that's a problem of cultural brainwashing and social engineering. We have been brainwashed for too long to believe that the only quote-unquote responsible way to carry a firearm is, one, concealed, and two, if you get a government permission slip. If you don't have a license and you don't get a license, you're an irresponsible gun owner. And those are the two things that we, as patriots, as 3%ers, as people who believe in the Constitution, who believe in the role of government, need to push. That's why we need to push.
Yeah, and you know, I feel the same way. I carry for a lot of different reasons. When I open carry, and I've concealed carry in the past. I used to have a permit. I don't anymore. But for me, I've carried because open carried. I've done it because it has a deterrent effect. It also, has the ability to participate in the conversation. Because
I was just about to ask you that. How many people come up to you and just talk to you because they see the gun and they just want to talk to you about it?
Exactly. It happens all the time. In fact, my video, I had, two or three different people that came up to me, other than the police, obviously, came up to me and talked to me about the firearm. And every single person I talk with, and, you know, the people who are anti-gun will tell you, well, of course, they're going to agree with you because you've got a gun. But every single person that I talk with agreed with me, you know? So you can believe that it's they actually believe or not. The point is that I'm actually engaging in the public, and I think that concealed carry, it makes it so, because people don't know how many guns are actually around them in their society. If you have a concealed carry permit in your state, there are guns around you almost every day if you go out and about. But the fact that they're concealed carrying it, they're denying that ability for, number one, people to see it and participate in the national or statewide conversation about firearms, about how, you know, people who carry guns for self-defense aren't criminals. They're your everyday people that live in your community. You know, they may work at the factory down the street, or they may be a teacher that teaches your kids. You know, these are everyday people, and the fact that they hide their guns like they're ashamed of it, I think does not help the national conversation that we're having on gun control. And all it does is make the voices for anti-gun even louder. So we do need to do something about the demonization of firearms by carrying every day, by carrying openly so that people can see it and people can get used to it. As you said, you know, just carrying in the same location over a period of time has reduced the amount of 911 calls of people calling about this because people get used to it. It didn't take long, did it?
It didn't. It took a matter of, well, like I said, it took about 4 to 6 months is the time frame that it took to get people used to it. And another thing, because you said something that think about every time you hear a story about a person who's carrying a gun stopping a crime or shooting someone that was that was robbing a place or something like that. If you pay really close attention, there's this narrative that is constantly beaten to our heads. So-and-so person was a legal concealed carry holder, license holder, and they really, that really becomes a big part of the story. And, the police say, he was a responsible guy, he had a license, he did what he was supposed to do. And so we're trained, even though it's subliminal, we're trained that we have to get this license to be responsible. They don't really highlight the fact of whether or not someone, if someone doesn't have a license, all they say is, a robber was shot and killed. They don't say the person was carrying legally but didn't have a license. But they always remark when you've got a license. Read the NRA magazine every month. In their little armed citizen. Always, every single one of those he was a concealed carry holder.
Yeah.
That's the kind of social engineering that too many gun owners have subscribed to now. And it's the same kind of social engineering that has tried to say that open carry is uncivilized. When you think back to the early, at least here in Texas, some of the early arguments against concealed carry was that it was unmanly and uncivilized. That's the way it used to be, because if you were concealed carrying, you had something to hide.
Yeah.
If you're open carrying, what do you got to hide? You know everyone's watching you. You know that people can see that you have a gun. And if you're up to no good, why would you want to draw that attention?
So we've got a couple minutes left, and I want to touch on a question I had from a listener, or rather a statement. And I don't know the answer to this. I don't know anything about this, so I want to get it right from the horse's mouth, no offense. But James on Facebook, he says, we all know that CJ's arrest led to permitted open carry in Texas. Temple, Texas is now the butt of everyone's jokes, but I feel that CJ may have given up too early on true constitutional open carry in Texas because he felt that permitted open carry was an easier fight to win. Just outside looking in, taking in what I've learned from the other Texans who went to Austin the last couple of years. And he also mentions that we're all soldiers for liberty, a rare breed that literally walks in front of barrels of the state's guns to make a point. We're all on the same side here. So I just wanted you to respond to that and kind of put your 2 cents on that.
Well, they didn't see a lot of what was going on. We never took our eye off of constitutional carry. We fought that to the very end. When Don Huffines was up there trying to, I was literally texting his staff to get him pointers as he was being grilled by so-called conservatives about constitutional carry. With Representative Stickland, who also carried our constitutional carry bill, even when we tried the amendments, I was texting representatives and also staff, giving them information to fight. Just because I supported every single pro-gun bill that was filed, whether it was licensed, unlicensed, no license, carry anywhere, carry in camp, it doesn't matter. I supported every single bill. I testified in favor of every bill, and every time I testified at the licensed open carry, every single one of my testimony was, we don't need licensed open carry, we need unlicensed carry, period. Mm-hmm. And I fought that to the death. I was in representatives' offices, I was in senators' offices, I was talking to representatives and senators, I was talking to their chiefs of staff, I was talking to the lieutenant governor, I was talking to the governor, I was talking to the Speaker of the House. I was doing everything I could do to get constitutional carry passed. And then when Corey pulled his thing and they tried to blame the death of constitutional carry on Corey Watkins, I was going around there chastising our representatives for, I wasn't even arguing the fact, look, whether or not I agree with what he did or not, I was very pointed to our representatives that even if it were true, you don't blame every gun owner in Texas for the actions of one man, whether it's me, whether it's Corey, whether it's anybody. And to use the excuse that, this one person killed constitutional carry, well, that makes you a very poor lawmaker. And I'm telling you, I didn't make a lot of friends in Austin. I really didn't. Because I was in there, and this is what a lot of people don't see, because all they saw was, because the only bill that was moving forward was a licensed open carry bill, so obviously that's the one that I was more vocal on, because there was nothing else happening with the other bills. Everything else was in the background. So we didn't give up. We didn't give up on constitutional carry. The legislators gave up on constitutional carry, and we did everything we could. Representative Stickland did everything we asked him to do. He filed amendments to the licensed open carry bill to make it unlicensed. We were pounding legislators' desks. Even some people who are so-called conservatives, they're A+ rated by the NRA, which, by the way, means nothing. If anyone thinks that means something today, it means nothing. And these people are telling me that, they just can't get behind constitutional carry. It had nothing to do with me. It had to do with our lawmakers. Our lawmakers surrendered. They gave up. And guess who helped them surrender? The same groups that are out there saying that we need to stand and fight. those groups sat down and capitulated. They didn't do anything to fight for constitutional carry. And let me tell you what I heard. I met with a senator, and I'm going to say his name, Birdwell. I met with him, and because I wanted to talk constitutional carry. And this is what he told me. He says, philosophically and principally, I believe in constitutional carry. He said, but you know how to get that, how you're going to get that passed? I said, well, how's that? He said, you need to get the NRA on board. If you don't have the NRA support, you're not going to get support for it. Now, is that a sick statement? To me, that's a very sick statement, and it tells you just how shallow and unintelligent lawmakers are. And the NRA is not getting behind constitutional carry in Texas. They're not. They've already said so. The TSRA is not getting behind constitutional carry. But we're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting because we have the people. We might not have the lobbyists, and we might not have the big money, and we can't throw them the big fundraiser dinners and all that kind of stuff. We can't buy votes, but we can hold them accountable. So anyway, that's my response. I never gave up. The problem was all people saw was us testifying on behalf of the bills that were making it through the committees and making it through the process, each of the houses and the chambers and all that. And what they saw was licensed open carry. I mean, but what do they expect me to do? Well, it's not constitutional carry, so I'm not going to support it. I mean, we have to support every pro-gun bill that furthers liberty, even if it's just an itty bit. But we've also got to let them know that this isn't enough. And crap, his name is escaping me. There's a liberal out of San Antonio. He even said on the floor of the House, he said, these guys aren't going to give up. This isn't going to be the end of it. They're going to come back, and they're going to get licensed open carry, and they're going to come back, and they're going to want unlicensed open carry. Then they're going to want unlicensed concealed carry. And then they're going to want this, and I was very pointed. I went to his office after. I said, you are absolutely right. I think I even testified in one of the committees. I said, he's absolutely right. We are going to come back here. Until you give us our rights back, we are going to come back every single legislative session, and we're going to keep hounding you until you return the Constitution back to the people. So, I understand where he's coming from, because I understand what the optics look like from the outside looking in, and I really do. But what I can promise you is that Open Carry Texas, me, my legislative director, my vice president, all of our local groups, we were so busy working so hard on what was just ultimately a losing cause because the legislators weren't behind it.
Yeah. And, I don't blame you. I understand where you're coming from on that. And I can understand the argument on both sides. Is it better to be ideologically pure and not to vote for a permit, even though it's expanding what rights you have, because you didn't have that right before? At least the government wasn't respecting the right. They were attacking that right.
Well, but I don't mean to cut you off. I've been very pointed about this too. The bill that was passed last year, it didn't expand anyone's rights. No rights. The only thing that we got that we didn't have before was the ability to carry on a college campus. We did actually even that is not. We got zero rights this last session. No liberty was furthered. No gun rights were furthered. All it did was for those people that got a government permission slip, and those people only, which is less than 4% of Texans. So only 4% of Texans had their liberties expanded. But Texans did not get their liberties expanded because they don't have licenses. 96% of Texans don't have a license.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying at least somebody did get something beneficial out of it. And I can understand why you'd be hard pressed to at least not support that. And again, there may be the ideological purists out there that would say no, it's all or nothing. And I can understand because that the argument could be made that, well, if you have a gain, recently, it may be unlikely that you'll be able to get more of a gain later. But I disagree. I think that we can do exactly what the progressives have done since the 1900s. They've incrementally chipped away at our rights, and we can incrementally bring them back if we fight and we have people at the grassroots level doing things like you and Open Carry Texas are doing. So my hat's off to you, man. I hope you keep doing your thing. And by the way, we got to run here, but I wanted to give you another opportunity to blast out all your social media, website, everything you got going on. Do you have any events or anything coming up?
Not yet. We are planning a few things. We're trying, like I said, right now we're just focused on the elections, and we're focused on suing cities and counties and stuff like that. So we don't have any major events coming up, and we don't have anything planned until probably in the legislature meets next year. But if we have if we win our suit against EPS at the Capitol, we'll be holding a big event at the Capitol, carrying our guns, because the courts will have told them back off.
I see. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Where can people get updates about that?
Yeah, just go to Open Carry Texas on Facebook. We put a lot there. We're on MeWe also. I'm actually getting ready to leave Facebook. I'm fed up with it. And you can go to my blog. Just look for A Soldier's Perspective. It's asp.tacticalgear.com. And I'm also CJ Grisham on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, cjgrisham.com. That's really not much on there. It's just a little bit about my background. So if you want to learn a little bit about me as a person instead of an activist, you can go to cjgrisham.com. But you can also sign up for our newsletters. We don't spam people. Just go to our website, sign up for our newsletter, and we only send stuff out if we have events coming up or if we have calls to action. So we don't beg for money, although we are a nonprofit and we could use it. We don't beg for money. We don't send out mailers. We don't have membership, any of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I encourage everybody out there, go check out their stuff, sign up for the newsletter. You guys are doing big things, especially if you live in Texas. You got to join this organization. They're doing some big things. And first of all, I just want to thank you for joining us today. It was awesome to talk with you again. And would you join us again in the future sometime?
Yeah, absolutely, Mack. And thank you for everything you're doing where you're at, because this needs to be national. We need people like you in every state, in every city, in every county, standing up, because that's the only way we're going to get it back is if people start standing up.
Right on, man. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. It was awesome to talk to you.
You too, bro. Take care.
All right, take it easy. All right, gang, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to start in on me. It's going to be me. See, I actually hate talking about the case because I feel like I'm talking too much about me. I want to focus on other things. There's so much going on in the world, and to just talk about me for so long, it's going to be a real trial for me here. So, what I am going to be doing when we come back from the other side of this break, we're going to be talking about the case, everything that has happened up to this point, the criminal case, which is now over, which I won. I'm going to give you guys all the dirty details, so you do not want to miss what's coming up next.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Me. This next hour is all about me. Sorry, I didn't mean to break your eardrums there. Okay, so we got some activity on Twitter. First things first, Mark on Twitter says, Mack, congratulations on winning your acquittal. Thank you so much, Mark. Kathy, she says, people's fear of everything. She's referring to how people were just scared of the inanimate object, firearm, open carry. She says she's very proud of me. She says that in Kennesaw, Georgia, a man by the name of Dent, I won't go ahead and put his last name out on the air. I don't know the guy. He walks around with 2 Colt 45s on his hips. The whole town knows him, and this is legal in Kennesaw. It is a law that people living in Kennesaw have a right to own a gun. So anyway, also we got Because Liberty on Twitter. He says, this is great. I've been waiting for this. All right, so sorry to keep you all waiting so long, and I'm also very sorry about keeping you in the dark about what's going on behind the scenes with the case. I hate the fact that I kind of had to play my cards close to the chest on this. I couldn't really talk about my case very much. I couldn't tell you a detailed step-by-step of this is what we're doing, and I couldn't tell you, but we have been doing things. And one of the reasons for that is you never know what's going to come up at trial. They can literally pull something from my podcast and use it as evidence against me. Hell, they tried to use the video from my arrest as evidence against me, even though it proved that I, first of all, didn't trespass and did not, try to scare anyone in any way. So anyway, let's go ahead and deep dive right into this. I think a good way to do this would be to start with the actual video of my arrest. So I'll go ahead and play a clip from, I'll go ahead and play the whole video here. It's 7 minutes and 39 seconds. I'll pause it and comment on the actual event. And then after this, I'm going to talk about all the shenanigans that went down in the courtroom afterwards as a result. So let's lead up to this here. I was walking around Vancouver, Washington, had a firearm, had a rifle, AR-15, slung over my shoulder. It was hung down at my side. I wasn't touching it. I wasn't threatening anyone in any way. All of the police testified that I wasn't threatening anyone. And if you don't want to just believe my word on it, I've been putting the videos of my first trial up on our website on OnTheMoveShow. On YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can check. We've got like 30-something videos out right now so far. I still haven't even gotten the opportunity to release it all because I've been so busy with college and work and being married and all the other stuff I got to do. I'm releasing these videos as soon as I'm able to. And right now we're at the closing arguments of the first trial. So what you'll see during this first trial sets up the ground for everything that happened afterwards as far as the appeal, because every single police officer, I believe there were at least 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was 2 officers. You had Officer Donaldson and Officer Rollins who testified on behalf of the police. They also had this woman. She was in the Burgerville that I got a soda from. I went in. I was thirsty. I wanted to get a fountain, something out of the fountain, drinks there. I wanted a Sprite. And at first I was going to go to McDonald's. And then I saw that they had a no firearm sign on the door. So I respected that business's right to say that they didn't want my business. Then I went somewhere else. I went to Burgerville. They didn't have a sign on the door. I looked. I got that on film. If you look at the raw, uncut, unedited version of my arrest, I put it on. It's like over 45 minutes long. I put it on there in its entirety. You can see I'm looking at the door, nothing there. Very first question I asked to the cashier in Burgerville is, what is your weapons policy? Because I don't want, and I even said, I just don't want to go against your policy. I don't want to get anybody angry at me or anything like that. So that was the first question. She said, everything's fine. I have no problem as long as nobody else has a problem with it. And that was that. We had a pleasant conversation, and I got my soda, and I left. This woman testifies at my trial that she told me to just get my soda and leave. This is her exact words in the trial. She said that she told me to get my soda and leave. Then we play the video, and she doesn't say that, and she's caught lying on stand, or at least what one may interpret as lying. Misremembering, maybe. I don't know. But point being, I don't want to call the woman a liar, but she testified against me. But she says that I didn't touch the weapon. I didn't threaten the weapon. I didn't gesture with it. I didn't do any actions or have any mannerisms that would be construed as threatening. The only thing, and this is from her testimony as well, and the police as well, the only thing that they saw that they felt threatened about was the fact that I had a weapon, and that scared them for some reason. It's an inanimate object. It's not a big deal, and it's completely legal. All right, and so everybody testified that I had no mannerisms that were threatening in any way. And the law that I was prosecuted on, by the way, I get arrested. They throw me in the back of a cruiser for trespassing on a public sidewalk. Trespassing. Wrap your mind around that. It's a public sidewalk. Okay, so people own it. People pay taxes on it. You can't trespass on it. But they arrest me for trespassing. That charge did not make it to trial. They dropped it. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But they charged me with RCW 9.41.270. It's displaying a weapon in a manner. Now remember, everybody testified that I had no mannerisms that were threatening. So all of these components, by the way, have to be met. It's not an or. It doesn't say and or just or. It says all of these things have to be met. So and. You'll hear me read this off in a second. But remember, every component of this has to be met in order to get a conviction in a manner, under circumstances, and in a time and place that would warrant alarm for the safety of others. So all of these have to be met in a manner, under circumstances, and in a time and place. If they had under circumstances, if they could somehow prove that in law, I don't know how they would prove that the circumstances in which I carried created the alarm for other people. A time and place, if they could prove that, if I can't carry a gun in broad daylight, there's a real problem. That you don't really have a right to carry if you can't carry a gun in broad daylight. It was sun was out. Anyone could see. I wasn't trying to hide it. I didn't have anything to hide. So, but the manner part, again, every testimony from the prosecution testified. Anybody who was a witness against me testified that I had no threatening mannerisms. That's a pretty big point. And the judge, he even said that open carry is not illegal. And we got into the jury instruction. Jury instruction number 8 was the mere open carrying of a semi-automatic rifle in public is not illegal. That was jury instruction number 8, I believe. So this whole thing it's like a kangaroo court. I didn't know why the judge would not just throw this thing out. What a waste. What a waste of my time. What a waste of taxpayer money. What a waste is all I can say. And this is not my fault. I didn't force the police to, as CJ was talking about, if I didn't force them to act like mosquitoes, like bloodsuckers, and just surround and basically throw somebody in jail who's not committing a crime, first of all, but also not hurting anyone. I did no harm to anyone. I respected property rights while I was out. I was talking to people about firearms. I wanted to participate in this conversation about guns so that, I could, first of all, talk to people in my community about guns, but also show people that, it's legal to carry. And if people see it more every day, if people driving down the road saw me carrying a rifle and I was out at that same spot every week, if I, metaphorically was doing this every week at the same spot, after a period of time, people would become desensitized to it. And that was what it was about. In addition to the fact that carrying a firearm for defense, I think is important, and you don't have to have a threat to your life in order for you to feel like you need to carry a gun. You don't need to have an imminent danger of so and so's out looking for you to kill you. You have that right at all times. I made the analogy in the last podcast. We talked about this over a year ago, where I announced that I lost the first trial, that you have a right to defend yourself. And let's correlate, because one of the big deals that they made in my trial was about me having a magazine in my weapon, and that I said that I didn't feel that, because they put me on stand, and I testified that I didn't feel threatened at any point while I was out there. But you don't need to feel threatened to carry a gun. You have that right to defend yourself. And the analogy I made was, do you always carry a cell phone battery in your cell phone? Even if you're not expecting a call or a text or anything like that. Even if you don't expect incoming messages, do you always carry your battery in your cell phone? Of course you do, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get an outside call all of a sudden. You see what I mean? Just like you would carry a magazine in your firearm, because you never know. People don't expect to have fires in their house, yet you have fire extinguishers. Why is that? Because anything can happen. And it's better to be prepared than to not be prepared for that something that could happen. So, anyway. So leading up to this day, I'm going out to make a video on how to open carry in the state of Washington. And I've looked up the laws. I'm going to cite it on the video and things. These are all my plans of things that I'm going to do while I'm carrying. I go to McDonald's first. I then go to Burgerville. I get the Sprite from the place there. I leave there without incident. I didn't see anybody running in fear or anything like that. I walk down to back down to the Walgreens parking lot where I parked my car. Behind it, there was a fireworks stand in there, and it was I think it was the 29th of June. My wife and I, we happen to really love the 4th of July. And so I saw this fireworks stand. I was walking into the fireworks stand. I look around. I'm filming the prices and the fireworks that they have there so that I can play it back for my wife so she can see what kind of fireworks they got and we can decide what we're going to get. So I'm doing all of these things. I leave. I wave goodbye to the girl at the door at the fireworks stand. I turn the corner, and I see a big building through a bunch of trees. And I don't know what this is. I'm not from Vancouver. In fact, I don't live in Vancouver anymore at this point now. In the present. So I live in Kentucky now. But at that point I was pretty new to Vancouver, Washington, and I didn't know what this building was. I thought it's a potential that it was another fireworks store. So I start walking forward through the parking lot. This is a massive parking lot that connects multiple different stores together. They're all using the same shared parking lot. And apparently it was owned by Big Al's, which was the building I was walking to. I didn't know what it was. Again, I'm thinking it is a fireworks store. So I start walking up. As I start clearing the trees get out of my way, I can see what it is. It's Big Al's bowling alley. And as soon as I see what it is, I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to go in there. I say out loud verbally on film, I don't want to go in there. There's alcohol in there. I never even went inside the building. As soon as I saw what it was, I hooked a left and I started going towards the sidewalk. I make it over to the sidewalk, and then the police arrive. All right, so this whole time without incident, I've talked to a few people up to this point, maybe like a half dozen people or something like that, and I talked to two girls. They were waving signs for the fireworks stand, and they were asking me what I was doing out there. I told them. They agreed with me. That's on film. No incidents. Nobody running away, well, except for one jogger that was on film running. She was already jogging. That was not my fault. I didn't make her run away. But anyway, so now I'm going to play for you the video of the police arriving. So I just turn onto the sidewalk coming from the parking lot. I'm on a public sidewalk, and there's a police car that I didn't see before. I wasn't looking around for police. I'm just out walking. I'm filming. I'm drinking a soda. I'm minding my own business, just walking. And I turn the corner. I see a police car. I figure, okay, these guys are probably out because somebody called, and they probably want to talk to me. So I start heading that way, and to my left, I hear on a megaphone or something, to my left, a speaker yelling, "Stop right there, stop right there." So I look to my left, and I see that there's a bunch of police officers with guns pointed at me, to the left of me, from the parking lot that I just came from. And in front of me, the police officer that I was on my way to go talk to, he's now in front of his vehicle, which, by the way, tactically, this is really, this has bothered me. This is a tactical move that I don't understand why he did. He got out of his vehicle, opened up his door, left the door open, went around the door, and took a kneeling position in front of the door on the side of the vehicle. He's completely exposed, but, oh, by the way, he's got his gun. He's got his AR-15 pointed right at me. It's an AR-15 M4 style weapon. I didn't put my hands on it, obviously, so I can't tell. But he completely exposed himself. If they really thought that I was a threat, why would he do that? But anyway, that was the only tactical thing that I saw that I was like, is harping on. But I digress. So now I'll play the clip. This clip is queued up to that point where the police arrive and they have their guns pointed at me. So here we go.
Welcome to On the Move.
Hey, bud, stop right there. Stop right there. Put the rifle on the ground. Put the rifle on the ground.
I'd rather not touch it, officer.
Put the rifle on the ground.
I don't want to touch the weapon. They're pointing guns at me right now, and... Alright.
Alright, so at this point, all of the guns are pointed at me. I've got at least... I saw several handguns from my memory. I can't see it in this video, but I know for sure there was a shotgun pointed at my chest by Officer Hernandez, the woman that you're about to meet. And then to the right, from the police car that was in the street, he's pointing that AR-15 at me. So, tell me to put my rifle on the ground. They respond, weapons drawn. All right, this is a problem. I wouldn't have had any issue talking with these people if they would have just approached me and talked to me. I would have told them exactly what I was doing out there, why I was there, and I would actually let them know I'm actually right about to leave. I was on my way back to my car to leave. I'd already been out there for like 30 or 40 minutes. This is kind of the most ridiculous part. If I was an active shooter, why would I have walked around, bought a soda first, talked to people, walked around, walked a few blocks, not hurt anybody again, but I have my weapon openly carried? If I was an active shooter, why in the world would I do that? It doesn't make any sense. And historically speaking, I have found not one situation where that has ever happened. Not one. Not one situation where an open carrier was out walking around for a half hour and then went on a freaking shooting rampage. Never happened. Has never happened. So, it doesn't make logical sense why they would assume that that's what's happening. And it also illustrates the fact of how terrible police response is. They had somebody that they thought was an active shooter. Apparently, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, they thought that I was an active shooter, and they waited a half hour to make contact. Does that sound safe to you? Does it sound like they're keeping you protected from the bad guys? No. So, anyway, here's the rest of the video.
I'm putting my rifle on the ground. Please do not shoot me. Okay, I have two weapons.
By the way, I put because I didn't want to touch the weapon. I was so afraid that these guys were going to just get trigger happy and shoot me. I was real nervous. You may not be able to tell, but I was freaking out a little bit. And I did not want to touch the gun. I was so afraid if my hand touched that gun in any way, I would get a bullet put in me. So what I did is I grabbed the strap from my shoulder and pulled it off over my head without, again, my hand was only touching the sling, and I put it down. I dropped the rifle on the ground in the grass by holding the sling and never actually touched the rifle itself. So if you're ever in that situation, it worked for me. You may want to try that method.
Point at me right now.
Okay, Officer Rollins says, can you do me a favor? Just put your hands on top of your head. So I do that. I'm still rolling film. I put my camera on top of my head.
Am I being detained right now, officer?
They tell me again, put your hands on top of your head. The Officer Rollins says, step over here. Just keep your hands on top of your head.
All right.
So now I've been separated from my firearm. My firearm is sitting on the ground, and the other police officers, they start swarming to that behind me as I'm leaving my firearm. And when I see that, I mention to them that I don't consent to any searches or seizures of my firearm. Unless they have probable cause or reasonable suspicion, they don't have the authority to detain you, and they certainly don't have an authority to search your stuff. Unless they have reasonable suspicion, probable cause that you've committed a crime, which you're about to hear them articulate that they have none. So they don't even have the right to pull guns on me, because pulling a gun on you cannot be argued as anything other than a detainment. So they violated the law right there. Boom. Detained unlawfully. That's a civil rights abuse right there. You can sue a police officer for doing this. So this police department needs some severe training on how they deal with open carriers.
Just so you know, officer, you're being video recorded right now.
And I also let them know that they're being video recorded in case, they try to get, especially in places like Oregon where they have wiretapping laws and stuff like that, where if you're just recording a video or audio of somebody, they can actually, I think, sue you. I think that's how, or maybe it's a criminal charge. I don't remember, but you can get in trouble nonetheless for recording a police officer without telling them. In Oregon, without letting them know that you're audio recording, you can get in trouble for that. So Washington wasn't the case, but it's a good habit to get into if you're dealing with law enforcement. Just so you know, I'm audio and video recording. And here we go. Oh, by the way, at this point, the Officer Hernandez, you can clearly see this is 55 seconds into the video. She's clearly pointing her shotgun at my chest. And she's trained on me right now.
We got eyes on your weapon, you're fine.
She says, that was Rollins. He says, we got eyes on your weapon, you're fine.
You're being video recorded right now. I just want to let you know.
That's fine. Do me a favor, stop right there.
Okay.
Right there. Just lift your...
Says, do me a favor, stop right there. He's having me lift my shirt and spin around so he can see if I got another weapon on me.
Shirt up, turn around. Just want to make sure you get on the other side. Turn around. Turn around. Alright. Alright, good.
Can I put my arms down?
Go ahead and put your hands in. Put your hands in.
So I asked if I can put my hands down. Officer Hernandez, who's a real jerk, and you'll see in a second, she's like, no! And Officer Rollins says, go ahead, put your hands down.
Okay. I'd rather not, sir.
Turn it off.
So he says, turn your phone off. I say, I'd rather not, just turn it off.
I don't want to.
Okay. Let me see your ID.
Am I being detained right now, officer?
Huh? Let me see your ID.
No, thank you.
What's that?
No, thank you.
No.
The look on his face, every time I've watched this, and I've watched it quite a bit, obviously, having to go through this. Look on his face when I said no thank you. He's like, what? What? And so he's now demanding my papers. I'm asking, okay, because he asked me if for my identification. So if you are going to demand my papers, I want to know if I'm being detained. Do you have the right to detain me? And I ask him, he won't. Police will not tell you if you're being detained or not. Usually, they try to avoid that question because they know that if they don't have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain you, if they say, oh no, you're not being detained, you can just walk away. And if they say yes, you're being detained, you can sue them for violating your civil rights. So anyway, he asked for my ID. I say no, thank you. I'm very respectful. At this point, I have no reason to be. They've already pointed guns at me.
Thank you?
No, thank you.
Okay, why are you saying no thank you?
I know it's my Fourth Amendment right. I don't have to show you my identification.
Okay, why are you walking down the road with a rifle?
Am I not allowed?
Why? I'm asking you a question. Why are you walking around with a rifle right now?
Why are you walking around with a weapon? Why is she walking around?
We're not going to play jokes, all right?
All right, so that wasn't a joke. That was it's almost like a duh. I'm asking you why you're doing this. And if he would have taken a moment to actually reflect on my question, why am I carrying a gun right now? It's for the purpose of self-defense. That's why he has a gun. That's why I have a gun. It's my right. I don't have to explain to you, Mr. Police Officer. I don't unless I've committed a crime. You don't have a right to detain me. You don't have a right to put guns in my face. You don't have a right to demand my ID or demand that I turn off my camera. You have no right to do all of the things you've just done in 1 minute and 48 seconds. So that is why I say, why are you carrying a gun? Why is she carrying a gun? Because you want to be able to protect yourself. So do I. You don't have special privileges. Having that badge doesn't mean you get extra rights. You're only asserting the right of self-defense by carrying that gun. That's what you're asserting. That's what I was doing by being out there.
Working right now. So
Okay.
Why are you walking around with a rifle?
I'm allowed. It's my constitutionally protected right.
That's your firearm?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Registered to you?
I'm not going to answer any more questions,
Okay.
officer.
So Washington State does not require registration of firearms, and he should know that being a police officer. So, not really sure why he asked that question, but regardless, I'm not gonna participate in this conversation anymore. They've already violated my rights. They've already been rude and disrespectful to me. They've already scared me. I thought I literally could die at several points in this encounter, and I'm lucky to be alive today. Honestly. Things could have happened so much different. So now at this point, because I'm not cooperating with him, he's like, you'll hear, he's like, just check that gun, check that gun.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, Go ahead and just check that real quick.
Just so you know, I don't consent to any searches or seizures of my firearm.
Boom. Now, that's very important. That's an important thing that you should do if you're dealing with police officers. Just let them know you don't consent to any searches or seizures, because if you do that and they search your weapon without probable cause or reasonable suspicion that you've committed a crime, then they've just conducted an unlawful search. So now we have an unlawful search that they're doing because they're just checking the weapon, you know. Even though I don't consent to it, even though they don't have reasonable suspicion. So let's go down the laundry list of what we have so far. Unlawful detainment, weapons drawn approach that is completely unwarranted. They demand that I turn off my phone, which you have a right to record a public official in performance of performing their duties. You have every right to do that. The Supreme Court has ruled on that already. So they can't make you turn off your phone, or your camera, and they cannot force you to give them your ID. There we go. Unless you have they have the same thing: reasonable suspicion, probable cause. So if they don't have those things, they can't do it. He asked for my ID. I said no thanks. I don't have to give him my ID. I have a Fourth Amendment protection against unlawful search and seizure. I don't have to do that. So now they're violating my Fourth Amendment right by searching this firearm.
That's good. That's good. We're not taking it anywhere. So just make sure it's not stolen. Make sure the weapon's clear. So why are you walking around the rifle?
I'm not going to answer any more of your questions.
So this is a point of contention for many people on YouTube who are anti-gun nuts. I will just point out, I would have had no problem talking to these police officers about why I was there. Had they not pointed guns at me, unlawfully detained me, demanded that I turn off my phone when I have every right to record them, demanded my ID, and then conducted an unlawful search of my firearm. So I would have had no problem explaining to them, but then I realized, okay, you're in investigatory mode here. You're trying to get evidence to arrest me now. I understand. So we're not friends. We're not going to be friendly, and I'm not going to talk to you because you've been a real jerk to me, and I've been nothing but respectful to you. I've said no, sir. I said thank you or no, thank you. Things along those lines. I'm not being rude. I'm not being irate. I have no fervent actions that warrant anyone to be violent against me. I'm not harming anyone, and more importantly, I'm not violating any laws whatsoever. Remember, Washington is an open carry state, completely legal for anyone who can carry a firearm to carry it openly in Washington state. No permit required. You don't have to register your firearm.
What's your badge number, officer?
I don't have a badge number. If you can find one on there, let me know.
What's your name?
So he wouldn't give me his badge number. He also wouldn't spell his name either.
My name is Officer Rollins.
Officer Rollins? Can you spell that for me, please, sir?
Yeah, I will in a minute.
What's your name, ma'am? Officer Young? What's your name, ma'am? Officer Hernandez, is that correct?
Oh, I'm glad you can read.
I don't know if you guys could hear that, if that came over well. She says, I'm glad you can read. She's got this look on her face. I can't stand this woman. I'm sorry. I cannot stand this woman. So one thing that's funny, if you look at this video, you can actually see that she is she's got her shotgun shells the wrong way in her shotgun holder. You know how you have these I don't know if it's called a bandolier. It's like a side rack that you can mount on the side of your shotgun. The way that you would do that is her bullets are in there the wrong way. She's put them in to where in order to pull it out, you have to pull out the shotgun shells out of the top of the gun instead of from the bottom as a normal person would do who has used a firearm before, who knows about the firearm. You would pull it down so that you can slide it into the breech, I think is that what it's called in the shotgun, where the magazine, basically the shotgun. So she can't even use this firearm properly, not to mention the fact that it's bigger than she is. Anyway, she says, I'm glad you can read. And I respond, wow, that was rude.
Wow, that was rude.
All right, stay here. You watch him for a second. Stay right there.
Am I being detained right now?
At the moment, yeah.
What crime?
Okay, very important. She admits that she's detaining me on film. Very important. And I'm asking, what crime have I committed?
Have I committed?
No crimes have been committed at this point that we know of.
No crimes have been committed at this point that we know of. This entire stop is illegal. They have violated the law. They are the criminals at this point. They need reasonable suspicion or probable cause to do anything at this point. And they've stepped over the bounds so many times now, and I have it on film that they have no idea what they're doing. No crimes have been committed at this point that we know of.
Your gun's stolen, I don't know.
Are you aware that I have to be committing a crime, or you have to have reasonable suspicion that I committed a crime?
That'd be great.
It'd be great if you would just let me go. I didn't realize I was in Nazi Germany.
Okay.
By the way, that's another point. What is it with Germans that get so angry about that line? There's so many people on YouTube that are like, I am from Germany, and I have a problem with your comment on Nazi Germany. I'm sorry, that was a horrible accent. Look, I'm not talking about modern-day Germany. That's when I say Nazi Germany, there was a historical period of time that I'm referring to, and it wasn't a very good one. Things came out of it like the Holocaust. All right, there was no respect for rights. Now, I'm assuming that an average German citizen is not saying that Germany is still the same as it was in Nazi Germany. So, by saying what is this Nazi Germany, I'm not. It's not a reflection on Germany of today. Anyway. Because Liberty on Spreaker says best German accent ever. Really, I didn't know I was good at that one. All right, thank you, appreciate that.
So, any reason why you're walking around with an AR?
I'm not answering any more of your guys' questions.
Okay, so that little gap there. There's a little gap in this video. My camera, I did not know that it had a 30-minute time limit, basically. After 30 minutes, the video stopped. And I looked down at my camera. It had to have been like 1 or 2 minutes that went by of me just standing there silently not talking to these guys. And then they say, okay, well, you can move over. I start moving over to the sidewalk, and this other officer, I can't remember his name, Hispanic fellow that's in the video at 3:29. He's unloading my magazine into the grass. All right, so first of all, the way he's doing it is not safe. You push the weapon out from the butt. The bullets out of the magazine from the butt end. The way that he's doing, yeah, you can do it, and I've done it before. But a public official out in public should not be jamming a metal object near the primer of a bullet in public. I don't think that's very safe. I'll throw that out there. He could easily puncture the primer and send one of these bullets flying through the air. Again, I'm not threatening anyone. The public alarm that was created in this situation, where the police are responding with their weapons drawn, and then people are running. Yeah, people were running then because freaking police were pulling guns out and pointing at people, about ready to shoot me. And now they're out here doing this. They are the danger to the public right now. Everything they've done, they're parked in the middle of the street. They've blocked traffic. They've created a big scene that obviously, yeah, it's going to scare people. And now they're unloading the magazine into the grass, risking puncturing the primer, possibly shooting somebody.
Take your hand in your pocket, please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm going to call you Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, as long as you...
He's calling me Mr. Smith because I didn't give him my ID. I didn't tell him my name. And they didn't. Oddly enough, they had no problem conducting an illegal search and seizure on the firearm. But they did have a problem with taking my ID for some reason. That was a weird line. A search and seizure is still a search and seizure. And by the way, it can't be identified as anything other than a search when you're pulling out all of my bullets from my magazine. And by the way, the jerk threw the magazine into the grass. All right? Very rude. Very disrespectful of other people's property.
You understand that based on your behavior and your actions, you have caused alarm and disorder in the community, okay? We have checked. You have refused to identify yourself. That is fine. However, based on your future behavior from this point on, you may receive different contact. Okay?
And I did receive different contact. But I find it funny, this whole thing, based on your behavior in the future, which they don't know. I mean, they're not, what are this, pre-cops or pre-crime division or something of these guys. Anyway, because Liberty on the chat here, he says, I'm right with you talking about Hernandez. She's fearful and afraid of citizens acting free. She has no place being a cop, in my opinion. It's too bad she couldn't read the law before enforcing some. Sue them, flex your rights back.
Okay? Meaning that you may be detained and identified because you are causing additional alarm and disorder.
So check this out. This is implying that they're trying to basically CYA, cover your butt. They're trying to basically say, no, we didn't detain you. But they don't realize that I've had a police officer here on film admit, number one, that they did detain me. So they've already detained me. And you couldn't argue that pointing a gun at someone was not a detainment. How is that even possible? To detain somebody, or it's not a detainment if the police point a gun at you and force you to stay there against your will. That is absolutely detainment. The courts have ruled on that as well, by the way. So they're threatening to detain me again, and this time they're going to get my ID. That's the threat. We're going to get your ID this time, Mr. Smith.
Understand what I'm saying, sir?
I understand. You just said you're going to violate my Fourth Amendment right.
So you know, okay?
So here's
have a nice day. You may pick up your firearm,
which you've strewn my bullet all over the ground.
And you may leave, sir.
I really appreciate your service to this community, officer.
You're very welcome, sir.
And I appreciate you guys defending the oath you took to uphold the Constitution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have yourself a great day.
You wonderful people.
So now I'm loading my firearm.
Wow. So, the city of Vancouver, not very gun-friendly. Who'd have thunk? Well, I'm just happy I did not get shot today. Look at the bright side, eh? Alright, that feels like all my bullets are there. Okay.
Now I picked up my bullets, loaded it in my magazine. I'm putting the gun back on exactly how it was before the police arrived. They didn't tell me that I couldn't do that. And by the way, no one, and this is misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation about my case. No one at any point here, up to this point, has told me to leave anywhere. No one's asked me to leave, demanded I leave, suggested I leave. Nothing like that. Nobody's even said anything. And by the way, I never went into Big Al's. I'm in their parking lot. I cut across the parking lot to go to the sidewalk. My car, I didn't know this parking lot was owned by Big Al's. So this whole parking lot is actually Big Al's. I parked my car in that. I didn't know. Again, I didn't even know who Big Al's was or what that building was. And once I realized that it was a bowling alley, I had no interest of going over there any further. So I was on my way around the block to come back to the car because I still had a little bit of daylight left and there's a little bit more time to open carry as far as I was concerned. So I was walking around and these guys picked me up. So one of the big things in my trial, they say, well, this is the prosecution, why did you reload the magazine? They tried to actually get this into the first trial as another reason why I was creating more alarm is that I was loading a magazine in public. Just so you know, go look up RCW 9.41.270. Google it. Just type that in. RCW 9.41.270. I've got this stuff memorized backwards and forwards now, all right? Look in there. Read around in that little area. Does it say anything at all about ammunition? Anything? No. No, it doesn't. And you're not going to find ammunition in there because liberty. That's why. Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate you. And Curtis said that on the chat room. So, yeah, that's why, because it does not. They don't have a right to tell you what you can do with your ammo. And there's no law. Here's the thing: there's no law against that. So he says, Curtis says it's not a fashion accessory. I agree. There is no law against this. So what they're trying to do is put this in a situation, inject it into the courtroom to make it seem like I'm doing things that are threatening people. They say, well, why couldn't you have just shoved all the bullets bullets in your pocket and then walked away. Well, that's not the way I was carrying the gun when I met the police. Why would you expect, again, no directions to do otherwise, why would you expect that I would not restore my configuration, how I was carrying the weapon, in a way other than when I had it before the police arrived? I was given no instructions to do that. Not that they had a right to do that in the first place, but why would you assume that I would just pocket all of my bullets? That's stupid. I'm out there, again, the reason why I'm carrying, the first reason everybody carries is to defend themselves. All right? You defend yourself from any threat that you may see, so it doesn't do you any good to have bullets in your pocket. What good is that? It's like carrying a cell phone without putting the battery in it. So now I've loaded my magazine back. I put my gun. By the way, the judge didn't allow that into the court, the first trial. FYI, the judge didn't allow the prosecution to do that. I just want to give you a heads up on that. That actually was denied by the judge, thankfully. It ended up not mattering anyway because I lost the first trial. So I'm putting the gun back on, putting the magazine inside the firearm, and I'm slinging it over my shoulder. And now, at this point, I just want to go home. I was originally going to walk around the block to my car, but after having guns pointed at me, having that, butthole pucker moment, sorry to be graphic there, but you know what I'm talking about. Having that moment made me just want to go home. Now I just want to get out of here. I just want to leave this area and go home. That's all I wanted to do. So here we go for the rest of the video.
It's not safe. Insert my magazine.
Alright, picking up the camera now. Got all my gear on.
Okay, so we have police over there. Oh, by the way, he did not give me his spelling of his name.
So now I'm getting card numbers of the police cruisers, so I know, because I'm planning on making a complaint at this point. They've already violated my rights, so I wanted to know who I'm dealing with. I wanted to get the police officer's name, Officer Rollins, the spelling of his name. I enter into the parking lot from the sidewalk. I'm heading back towards where the police. Remember, I turned that corner going onto the sidewalk, and the police are to my left that announced on that speaker and had me come back into the parking lot that I had just left. So I'm walking now again for a third time into the parking lot, and I'm going to, number one, go to my car. I'm on my way to go to my car. In the process, though, I'm getting the vehicle numbers of the police cars, and I want to get the spelling of Officer Rollins' name. So I'm heading back towards the police with my firearm. And again, remember, no one at this point has told me that I got to leave the property. All right? And there are reports all over the internet that are wrong and incorrect. And I guess I'll play one of those. There's a news report from K2, because I went to K2 hoping that they would tell my story in a fair way, and they just conducted a huge slam piece against me and lied, had a bunch of misinformation. They said that all over the internet there's stories, misinformation stories about how I refused to leave. This is very important. I get in arguments on YouTube about this all the time with people commenting on my videos saying, "You were asked to leave and you didn't. You were asked to leave. What about property rights? You care about your Second Amendment rights, but you don't care about property rights. Oh my God." All right. Watch the video. It's all there. Go check for yourself. If you want to argue this point, go check for yourself, because this is the very first time here in about a few seconds here in this video of where anybody at all tells me to leave, demands that I leave, asks that I leave, suggests that I leave, or even, as a very polite would do, invite you to leave. No one did any of that. So let's just play it. This will be the first time anyone at all, as I'm walking back into the parking lot to go ask these few questions and then get to my car, which is in the parking lot, I'm told to leave now.
Car number 1292. Hernandez.
They don't want you here.
Oh.
Okay. Officer Hernandez, you could hear that voice, might sound familiar. Officer Hernandez says, "You need to leave the property, sir. They do not want you here." And my immediate response is, "All right." And I do a 180, and I'm turning around, and I'm going back to the public sidewalk.
Right.
So now I'm walking back to the public sidewalk.
Can't read that car number. I'm going too fast.
And I have made it. I am now standing on a public sidewalk. Public property. Owned by everyone. Cannot be trespassed on. You can't trespass on public property. So now I'm walking down the street towards... Remember that cruiser when I turned that corner again? I said there was a cruiser in the street. I believe that was Officer Donaldson. Officer Donaldson is still in that vehicle in the same spot where I was originally detained and when I saw him before. And now I'm turning the corner and I'm walking to him because I'm about ready to walk around the block, as was my original plan, to come back to my car on the other side in the parking lot that I wanted to go in, but they told me I had to leave. So I was about ready to walk around, and I didn't know the ownership of this parking lot belonged to just Big Al's. I didn't know. I thought I parked in the Walgreens parking lot. So I was on my way over to where I thought Walgreens was. I was going to completely bypass Big Al's, as far as I knew, and I'm walking in that direction.
Sir, you were asked to walk the other way while exiting. Do not walk towards me with a firearm in your possession.
This is Officer Donaldson in that police cruiser in the street. So now they're denying me freedom of travel, your freedom of movement to move on a public sidewalk. I'm not violating any laws. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm not doing anything to harm anyone whatsoever. And they are preventing me from moving freely. All right? And they're preventing me from leaving because now I can't go through Big Al's. I can't go on the sidewalk. Now, I don't know at this time that Big Al's parking lot, that whole big parking lot is owned by Big Al's. I don't have this information. I don't know this. All I think is that they've completely blocked the two ways that I would go to get to my vehicle, which is in this parking lot at Walgreens. So this is a lesson learned, by the way, for those of you out there who are thinking about open carrying. Make sure that you have another person there, first of all. You're rolling film, obviously, but also have multiple cameras, have multiple people rolling film. If you can, have your film streamed to the internet live so they can't hide it from you, because I'm going to talk about how they'll hide it from you in the next hour. I'm going to talk about all the aftermath of what happened with this case, okay? So now I'm denied freedom of travel moving that way, and I start looking around. I'm like, well, where the hell am I going to go? I either can stay exactly where I'm standing, or I have to go 180 the direction of my vehicle. I have to go the complete opposite the direction of my vehicle into a residential neighborhood. All right, so I don't know where. I'm not familiar with this area. I went up to the place that I thought would have a lot of people around that I could talk to about gun rights. That's what I did, and I didn't know. Again, this is very poor planning. I'm one of those kind of people that I'm very by the moment. By the seat of my pants kind of guy. You know, if I want to go do something, I'll go do it. I don't really care about planning too much. I just like to jump in and do things. So that's what I did with this. I didn't, I planned out the law. I knew what the law would be, but I wasn't going out and planning my route and looking who owned what property and planning where I should park my car. I failed in that department. That was a mistake that I made, not because I violated any laws, but because I didn't take steps to protect myself. Because obviously about what is about to happen in this video and what I've been fighting for the past 3 years almost. Here it goes.
Walk the other way, please. Thank you.
I'm looking around.
Wow.
Now I'm walking the complete opposite direction of my car.
This is incredible.
And I get to the corner of this street, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't want to just walk away from my car. So I try to start talking to the police, like, hey, I just want to go home. My car's in that parking lot. Just let me go, And here's what happens. I'm not going to interrupt anymore. At least I hope not. Here we go.
Officer, I need to get to my car is over there.
Sir, you were asked to leave that private property.
All right, I lied. I'm cutting in. I'm asked to leave the private property. I'm standing on a public sidewalk. There's video of it. You can see that I'm not in the parking lot. And now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're like, oh, get out of the parking lot, get out of the parking lot, whoa, whoa, all right, we're going to arrest you. Here they go.
You need to leave that private property or you're trespassing.
Officer, I'm trying to get to my car. It's over there. I want to leave.
Sir, keep your hands where I can see them at this point, please. I'm going to ask you to set the phone down so that you don't damage your own phone. Set it on the ground.
Ha, yeah, right. Like I'm ever going to do that. No freaking way am I not recording these guys. It's not going to happen. And at this point, they've decided that they're going to arrest me. And I'm clearly, this whole time, you can see I'm standing on the public sidewalk. There's no way that this could be argued, which is why this was dropped before trial when I got the video back. Here's the rest of the clip.
Do not reach
My car's over there.
your firearm. Set the phone on the ground.
Knees.
I just want to leave.
Knees.
My car is right there.
Hands on top of your head.
Put them on your head.
They got their guns out. They're pointing them at me, obviously. They're arresting me now.
Don't move.
Why am I being assaulted here? Am I being arrested?
Yep.
I want to leave.
Too bad.
Too bad. I want to leave. Too bad. That's professionalism at its best, folks. Gotta say. Anyway, that's the end of the second hour. We're going to go into what happened in the first trial and the second trial when we come back from this break. I really appreciate it, everyone who's tuned in to listen to this. We'll be right back. You don't want to go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Natasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
All right, gang, we're back. By the way, if you want to join today's conversation, you can do so in a variety of ways. You can get us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow. You can get us on Facebook, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can also call us. This is a great way for me to communicate with you guys. I really love having conversations with you guys, and it means a lot when you do call and you take the time out of your day to join and engage in the conversation. That's really awesome. The number of the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. Our Mack Pack phone lines are open. All right, so the trial. What happened? So there's a lot of details, and obviously I don't have any film of the trial other than the videos I've been putting out on YouTube, which is hours and hours and hours and hours of raw footage that I obtained through a Freedom of Information Act from that trial. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that case because the first trial, the one that I lost, I already did a synopsis. I already gave you a breakdown of everything that happened. It's on my YouTube channel. You can check out that to hear everything about the first case. But I think what you guys want to hear about are some of the things that I haven't been able to talk about. So first of all, during the first trial, they we're playing hide the ball with the evidence. And I touched on this in the last podcast. I talked about this like 2 years ago or a year ago or something like that. Some crazy amount of time here. I think it was 2014. So I want to say it was 2 years ago when we got the loss. So basically, I'm arrested. I show up to court. I don't have enough money for a lawyer, but thank you for the people that helped me. We had a defense fund, and that actually helped me pay for the deposit for an attorney. It was, again, as CJ was saying, you're thrown into this situation. And let me just tell you a little bit about how I was feeling at that point. I'm not a guy that gets stressed, like, ever. I don't let things stress me out. I don't like to give people or events control of how I feel. I feel like, and this is something I learned from my mom. She's been a very positive role model in my life. I look up to her so many things, but this is one of those things that she taught me, is that willing things into reality. If you say, I'm depressed, I'm just really sad. If you say that out loud, you are depressed, you are sad. But if you say, I'm happy, even when you feel depressed, you fake it until you make it, you have a fighting chance. Now, this is how I've lived my life. I'm a pretty carefree guy to begin with. That's how I am. It may surprise you guys. I'm actually pretty carefree, and I don't worry. I don't stress. If I can't change it, I don't worry about it, and I do what I think I can change. So what happened when I was arrested? I couldn't find a lawyer. I was freaking out. I couldn't afford the money for a lawyer anyway. Again, who would purposefully go out and try to bait the police? I was accused of doing this to win a lawsuit against police officers. Yeah, I'm going to sue them. But it's not because I give a crap about the money. I want this police department to change. I want the people that did what they did to me to be held responsible, and I want changes in this police department in Vancouver, which I don't even live there anymore. So I don't even have a dog in this fight anymore. But I'm doing this because other people out there are getting treated this way, and people have to stand up. Glenn Beck, I don't know how you guys feel about Glenn Beck, but I like Glenn Beck. I listen to his show. I think if you did listen to him, if you don't like him, I think you'd probably agree with more of what he says than what you would disagree with. I think most of the people who don't listen to Glenn Beck don't like him because they don't listen to Glenn Beck, honestly. But one of the things that he says, and I frequently take from him, he inspires me quite a bit in some of the topics that we talk about. I listen to a lot of other podcasters and do the same thing. But Glenn Beck, he says, money doesn't talk, money screams. And it's true. It screams. And when you sue a police department, when there's a threat of a lot of money coming out of the police department, when you start actually suing each of the officers involved and affecting those officers individually, you really get reactions out of people, especially if they're in the wrong. And that is why I'm suing. I could give a crap about the money. Honestly, I really don't care. And I know that my lawyer is probably going to be telling me to take whatever deal I can get, just take it, just take money, because I'm sure he just wants to get his percentage. And that's fine. By the way, my lawyer, he's a good guy. I happen to like him. He took my case up. He doesn't even necessarily believe in firearms. Not that he doesn't believe they exist, but you get what I'm saying. He's not an advocate for firearms. He's not even an advocate for open carry. But he does acknowledge that somebody needs to be defended. That there has to be someone to defend this right, and he was willing to do it. And for that, I thank him. He from what I understand, he's more of a I don't know, kind of like a social liberal, maybe a fiscal conservative. I don't know. I would imagine that he would fit well into the Libertarian Party. So anyway. I'm not bashing on my lawyer by saying that he's gonna be telling me to take a deal, but I know he is. I know he is. I'm not concerned about the money though. For me, it's the principle. There's a few things that I want to see. First of all, I would love to see an apology, because my life now is so different in a lot of different ways. and let me tell you, I recently I went to try to apply for a job, and I ended up getting the job. But they needed evidence that my arrest that they found on my record in conviction that it was overturned. Because remember, my conviction was overturned, and then they took it into a review status, which is what we just completed. And I'm going to tell you all about that. But I had to get the court document showing that my case was overturned from the appellate court. Or no, it was a superior court. That's where it went. And the superior court judge said that the jury from the first trial ruled incorrectly, that they decided incorrectly. It wasn't based on law. It was an emotional decision. His exact words, I think, were, it was an emotional decision not based on the law. So for me, what I want to see out of this is changes from a civil suit, changes in the way the police handle these kind of situations. I want to see more training of their officers. So I think that is something this department needs drastically, is changes of how they deal with open carriers. They need training. They need to have training on this frequently, because apparently none of them know how to deal with it. Because there were tons of police officers at my scene, the scene of my arrest, and no one seemed to have any issue with the way I was being treated. They didn't understand that they were the criminals in this situation, not me, because they were violating the law. So not only the changes in the training, but I also want to see some people being reprimanded. My rights were violated. I want those people punished for what they did. They committed crimes. Law enforcement officers should not be committing crimes. Their job is to protect the rights of the citizens, not to impose upon them, not to restrict their rights, not to enforce feelings over the law. So I want to see some kind of issue here with these guys. As far as I know, everybody's got off scot-free. The way they treated me, the way they dealt with the case, no one has been punished in any way, shape, or form that I am aware of. Doesn't mean they haven't, but I'd like it to be known to me if that happened. I want somebody to get punished. Somebody's got to take the rap for what happened here. I don't care who it is on the scene. If it's the on-scene commander, I believe was Sergeant Rollins. I think he was the senior officer there. If he's the one that should get punished. Definitely Officer Hernandez has no business having a badge. She should lose her badge, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm not saying if they punish her in some way, suspend her without pay or something, okay, I could deal with that. At least it's on her record now of having an incident where she violated somebody's rights. So down the line, if she does it again, we can see there's a pattern of behavior here. Something has to go on these records. And then what I think is the third thing that is really important to me, and the reason why because Liberty Curtis says, "Hernandez, bring us her head." No, I'm not quite calling for that, but I get the sentiment. For me, one of the things that has happened so much. Again, I mentioned my employer situation. So I actually got the job and I was able to show that it was overturned. But if I didn't get it, they were going to lay me off or fire me, I guess, because it was a security position. They didn't want anyone with a criminal record being a security guard. I get it. I understand. By the way, I don't work there anymore, so I can talk about this. But I want an apology from the police as the third thing from this police department. Notice I haven't mentioned anything about money. Those three things, I'd be satisfied with just those three things. And I'm probably tipping my hand here. If they listen to the podcast or something, they're going to know. But regardless, they're not going to do that. They're not going to apologize. And I want a written apology from this police department, because every employer I work at, every time I have my background checked, if I don't even know if I'm able to get a concealed carry permit, because I have this, it's a gross misdemeanor. It's not a felony. It's a misdemeanor, but it may affect me for trying to get a concealed carry permit. I could be denied getting a concealed carry permit. Again, if I can't conceal carry, my only option is to open carry, and I risk being arrested for open carry. This is kind of a cycle here that's showing that you don't really have a right to bear arms. They can just take it away and do whatever they want at this point. So, again, those three things: training, reprisals for the officers, and brain fart. Oh, and a written apology. Those three things are more important to me than any amount of money. I'd accept $1 and that, and I would be totally fine with that lawsuit. But money does scream. So if I'm not able to get what I want, which I imagine, they're not going to write me an apology. I'm positive of that. But I want to be able to show employers I'm applying for law school in the future, a law school if they ask about that. I don't know if this is ever going to come up down the line. I don't know where this is going to happen. I want to be able to show people that the police made a mistake. I want to document from them apologizing for the way that they treated me. And if I can't get all that, then I'll let the money do the talking. And I'm not really that concerned about it. I'm not trying to make $1 million here, gang. There's no way I'm gonna. You know what I mean? Like, no one would subject themselves to this kind of torture if they were trying to make money. Again, I've been a little scatterbrained here, but after this happened, I was sick to my stomach. I'm a guy who I don't get stressed out. But in this situation, I didn't know what to do. This was a situation that I was in and that I had control over as far as being in court, but I didn't know what to do. I knew this wasn't one of those things that I can just ignore. So I was freaking out, man. I was sick to my stomach. I didn't eat. I had... This is probably too much information, but I had stomach issues. I'll leave it at that. You can just infer whatever you want from that. But my stomach was tied up in knots for several days. And it's amazing how the human mind works, because I couldn't have a thought that wasn't about the arrest or what to do for more than like 2 minutes at a time. Every time I'd start talking about something else, and I would just drift back into the case. And that's all I was thinking about. It consumed my life for those few days until I found a lawyer who would help me. And thank goodness, got that lawyer, got that taken care of. So we go through the case. We're in the trial, the first trial. They won't give me the video. They keep saying that, we don't have the technology to get into your phone. You have a password, so we can't get into your phone. I had one of those pattern passwords where you have to swipe a certain pattern to unlock the phone. And now my memory on this, because this is a few years ago, is kind of sketchy. So I'm going to try to, if I miss some details or put things in the wrong order, I apologize. But basically, what had happened was they had my video within a few hours of my arrest. So we know this because when we finally did get the video, they had the timestamp of when they pulled it off my phone on the DVD that they gave us. Now, I was blown away that they even gave it back, because it killed their case. It showed how corrupt they were, how much they violated my rights. I thought that video would never see the light of day because they confiscated my phone. So we know that they had that video. This is like 3 hours or something. I was still in jail when they had that video. And the way they do it, they just hook it up through the SIM card or something and just suck all the info out of the phone or something. Like, they got the technology. They got it. And all they had to do was pull out the SIM card and plug it into whatever the thing. So they had it, obviously. But they lied to me. They lied to my attorney. They lied to the judge. And they said, no, we don't have the video. We can't get the video. Sorry, you're going to have to either go to trial without your video, which shows how much they violated your rights. It's your word versus 6, 7 police officers, something like that. Your word against them. And one of the charges is that you were trespassing on a public sidewalk, and you got video exonerating you of that immediately. So I mean, it was so important. Otherwise, it's their word that I was on the property, which they testified that. I mean, they would have testified that I had been on it in their police reports. I think if I remember right, they had written in police reports that I was trespassing. I went back on the property, and again, that's not the case. As soon as I was told I was trespassing, or that they didn't want me on the property, I left. You heard it. We walked through that yourself. That's the only time anyone ever asked me to leave. So anyway, they won't give me the video, so I have to decide. Do I go to trial without the video, or do I waive my right to a speedy trial so that I can wait until they do get the video? And I was trying to work with them to get that video. So I waived my right the first time for a speedy trial, and I buy them another 90 days. Waive it for 90 days at a time. And then at that point, they start playing hide the ball with this. The way that they did it is, first we were trying to set up like a third party to come in there and be the one to unlock the phone, be the one to be in control of the phone, and open it up, and then get make copies of the video and give it to both the police department and myself. Before we even got to that point, the city of Vancouver said that they're petitioning Google, which is like Android is the owner of the phone or whatever. So they had a warrant to Google to give them my password, which Google didn't have. It's a swipe password. It's a local password on your phone. It's on that device. Google doesn't have that password, and it's not a digits either. It's a pattern. So how would they even explain that? Anyway, the point is that they didn't have that, and I told them that Google wouldn't have that. I said, I'll unlock the phone. All I want to do is make sure that I get a copy of that as well. I just want to make sure that as soon as you get into the phone, it just doesn't magically disappear. So when I did that, they were saying, okay, yeah, we'll do that, and then they never did. And then when we scheduled a day, again, I had to waive my right to speedy trial several times, because in between each court appearance, it's like 90 days. Yeah, it's like it takes each time you go into court. Oh yeah, we still don't have the video. Waive your right again. Oh yeah, still don't have the video. Waive your right again. Google didn't have the password. Sorry about that, buddy. Waive your right. You keep doing this over and over, and I'm telling them the whole time, I'll unlock it for you. After so many times of doing this, finally they agreed with the judge there as the arbiter that we would have a third party come in and unlock the phone, all this stuff. Then they pulled some shenanigans. The day before we had the appointment scheduled, the first time they call me, the department, people who I never talk to. I don't know who these people are in the department, and they're like, hey, just give me your password. Over the phone, call me on my personal cell phone. Yeah, just give me the password. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. This was not the deal. The deal was I was gonna come in there and unlock the phone and all that stuff, and that was they had violated the deal. So when we went to court again, they're like, yeah, we still don't have the video, but it's because of the defendant. The defendant wouldn't give us his password like he agreed to. And we said, well, you broke your end of the deal. You tried to change the deal up. That wasn't what we agreed to. So then the judge forced them to have a third party come in there. The judge ordered them to have a third party there so that we would both get copies of the video, all of that good stuff. They made it clear. The judge made it clear that this is what they had to do. So then a few days, I think it maybe 24 hours before the appointment that I was supposed to go in there to actually unlock the phone with the third party, all this stuff, my lawyer calls me and says, oh, hey, guess what? They have your video. And I'm like, how'd they have that? Well, according to the timestamp, because I think maybe it was that conversation or the conversation afterward. I'm kind of shaky on this. But he says, according to the timestamp, they had it the whole time. And, we got a lot of reason to believe that they violated your right. They conducted a search on your phone without warrant because I was arrested. It was, I don't know, it was still daylight, but it was about ready to sunset when I was arrested. When I was in jail, I don't think I got out of jail until like 1 in the morning or something like that. It was late at night. No judge is going to be giving a warrant to search a phone. It's not a priority right now. It's not like an emergency that they need to issue a warrant. They didn't have a warrant to search that phone. They did so illegally, and then they lied about it after the fact. Over and over and over again. Lied about it. So that's how we went from being arrested in June 29th, 2013, until the trial being over. I believe it was at some point in July or something of 2014. So a year from then, I was finally unlawfully and wrongfully convicted. So then we go into the appeal portion of it, and I'm appealing this conviction. And we can't enter into a civil dispute because, as we talked about in the first hour with C.J. Grisham, if your arrest led to a conviction, then you can't sue for wrongful conviction or wrongful arrest because you have no grounds. According to the judge, they think, oh, well, you must not have been wrongfully arrested because it led to a conviction. So doesn't matter that you're appealing. None of that matters. So we have to wait on the civil suit, which again we haven't really started until now. Anyway, so we go through. I mean, this takes months and months and months and months and months and months and months for your appeal to even be seen by anybody. So in the meantime, I'm in this limbo, like CJ Grisham is right now. I was in this limbo for a really long time, and then I want to say it was about, I don't know, it had to be close to a year ago at this point. I think it was about a year ago. I won my appeal. We actually won. And I've been telling people about this, word of mouth kind of thing. I haven't released an update video about it because I didn't want to put a whole bunch of hype around it or anything. I didn't want to get people's hopes up, because immediately after we won the appeal, they filed for a review of the decision. The city. They said, oh, no, that has to be a mistake. The judge said in the appeal, he said the jury made an emotional decision not based upon the law, and he overturned the conviction. So then they filed for this review status, which is essentially, I didn't know this even existed. It's an appeal on an appeal. They do this to make sure that, that criminals aren't going back out into the system that really ought to be, there. They have a one final review. It's an appeal on an appeal. And this process lasted about a year of waiting to hear back on the review. For it even to go to trial, nothing was going on for the longest of time. It's just me sitting here waiting, twiddling my thumbs, hoping that justice will prevail. And, a few hearings here and there that my lawyer's attending. I don't even live in Washington anymore, so my lawyer's doing all this by proxy. He's doing this all for me. And thank goodness I found him. Spencer Freeman, he's a lawyer up in Seattle. He's helped me a lot. And also his friend, my original attorney, Rob Apgood. I don't think he's practicing anymore, but Rob, he does a lot of these kind of open carry cases, which he's the one that originally picked up the case, and then he had a family emergency. He had to drop the case. He's like my secondary counsel, and Spencer Freeman is my primary counsel now. And Spencer and Rob are real good friends, which is why Spencer got in on this. Spencer took point, and he really, he did a good job. I'm very satisfied with the way he handled this case. I'd highly recommend him to anybody in Washington State. If you are looking for an attorney, this is a free plug for Spencer for helping me out of a jam. If you're looking for an attorney and you live in Seattle or Washington, I believe he's a federal attorney as well, so he can help you. He can help represent you in whatever city that you're in, even if you're in Kentucky or Florida or whatever like that. He can. I'm not sure about those cities. You might have to talk with him specifically on that, but he can help represent you at a minimum. His name is Spencer Freeman, the Freeman Law Firm in Seattle, Washington. Check them out. I don't have their telephone number at this point, but I figured I'd give them a free plug because I really appreciated what they did for me and the fight that they put up. And my hat's off to them for that. I'm very, very grateful for them and everybody who supported me to help me to be able to afford them. That donation fund really helped out a lot. We still got bills to pay from this thing. Fees and all sorts of other stuff that are upcoming and things like that. I'm not asking for your money at this point. I'm not asking for money. I just want to be clear about that. But it is expensive. This whole thing is expensive, and I am humbled. Just thinking about the people that actually donated, they took time to not even donate. Even if you couldn't afford to donate, which I appreciated the people that did that. Like I got a little bit emotional a couple times. I'll be honest, but it just blew me away that complete strangers would reach into their pocketbook to help me out and fight for this. I was touched genuinely, and I'm grateful and humbled for it. And, I hope not to let them down. I'm going to continue fighting. And, they did that because they realized that this is an issue that is not just about me. If they can just arrest me for doing nothing illegal, they can do that for any reason whatsoever. There's a saying, you can't beat the ride. Or, I'm sorry, what was it? You may beat the charge, but you can't beat the ride. Either way, you're still going to end up going to jail. The police will, even if they're wrong, you you can't stop them from arresting you if unlawfully. If that's what they want to do, you fight it in court, and that's what I'm doing. And I appreciated everybody who's supported me in this process, and we did it. The review was denied. The review that the city was trying to do, again, the appeal of the appeal, the city's review was denied, and now I'm free. I'm a free man. I'm scot-free. The charge is gone. The conviction is gone. It's like it never happened, supposedly. But we're going to have to talk about the consequences and the aftermath of that at the other end of this break, because, things are still different for me. Things are much different now, especially when I deal with police. If I have a run-in with police, I'm treated differently. And I want to talk about that and the civil suit when we come back after this break. So we'll be right back, gang. Don't go anywhere.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
All right, gang. So let's wrap up this conversation here about me, about this civil case, criminal case. Criminal case, it's over. That's it. I won, they lost, I fought the law, and the law lost. And that is because the law was actually on my side. The law was clear. Open carry is legal in Washington State and many other states around the country. And that's because people have a right to defend themselves. And you should not have to get a permission slip from the government to do so. It's a natural right. It's inherent. Everybody it's obvious. If somebody's attacking you, do you have, quick, pop quiz. If someone's attacking you, do you have a right to defend yourself? Every single person in America will say yes. Unless they're a crazy liberal. Sorry. And again, shouldn't use the word liberal to describe them. Let's say statist. That's common sense. So that's why I won. That's why open carry exists. That's why the law was on my side. And that's what this trial was about. And the civil case, before we get into the civil case, I just want to mention, the reason why I didn't want to, I talked about this briefly before, but the reason why I didn't want to bring anything up, I was playing my cards close to the chest, is because I didn't want anything I said to be used against me. I mentioned that. But also, there wasn't much to report on. We had a few times where we went to trial. Maybe they give oral arguments or something, and there's really no outcome. It's just we had oral arguments, and that's what happened that day. Or we filed this briefing, or we forgetting the legal terminology for it, but we filed a motion. There we go. We did a lot of stuff like that, behind the scenes, stuff that's boring to talk about. And it's really important in the grand scheme of updating you guys. But additionally, not. I didn't want to get people's hopes up. I didn't want to say, yeah, we won the appeal. Here's the update. It's over, because it wasn't over. And I didn't want to have the message be confused or have any mixed messaging about what happened. Because I can see, the video's out there. It's clear. There's so much misinformation about my trial, about my incident, about my case, about everything that happened. People saying that I refused to leave. People saying that I went into Big Al's. These are things that just completely false. There's so much falsehood about it. I wanted to use the channel to create a record of fact, a record of things that had happened on the case. And I also didn't want to confuse anybody. I wanted to keep things as simple as possible. So I know, and I apologize about how long this process took, but just know it was a necessary evil that I didn't want to keep things from you. And I'm trying to put everything out, even from the first trial here. I'm trying to put everything online so you can watch. And there's a learning process that we can all go through. And you can see yourself. You can watch my entire first trial up to right now, the prosecutor's closing arguments. Following up after that, we got the defense, my side, closing arguments, and then the ruling, where you're going to see the look on my face when I get gut punched by this judge who tells me I'm convicted. So that's coming up in the next few videos here. So and those will be out pretty soon. I'm a busy guy. Got a lot of stuff going on. Got a lot of plates spinning right now. So haven't had time to do all those. But I'm going to get around to it. I will. I promise you that it'll all be there, and there will be probably an update video. I'm probably going to do an actual video update of me winning the appeal, a smaller segment. That way I can just put it out there and make it more digestible for people than the podcast. But Mack, you guys are awesome. That's why I give you all the information first. You guys get all the up-to-date information as often as I'm able to, and immediately as I'm able to. So I wanted to make sure that you were the first ones to hear. And it was, like I said, it was very serendipitous that C.J. Grisham was on that episode where I was convicted, and I released that announcement, and he's on this episode when I tell you guys we won. But now we move forward here, and we start looking at the civil case. And as I said, I'm not in this for the money. I don't really care about the money. Honestly, if I get nothing out of this, if I sue and if I don't even win, even if I lose, it's not the end of my world. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lose any sleep over a civil suit lawsuit. The only thing I'm going to be upset about is the fact that there are no changes from this department. And I think that is the ultimate thing that needs to happen out of all of this. Behavior like that is unacceptable. It's lawless. It's happening outside of the bound of law. It's the definition of lawless. So police should not be lawless. And if I don't manage to change this police department myself, then someone else will have to do that. And I'm hoping that people in Washington will take a look at what I did and learn from what I did, some of the failures I talked about, like not loading my video directly to the internet, not streaming it live. That was a huge mistake. I should have done that, because then my trial would have been 3 months. They would have had 90 days to convict me, or they would have lost out, and I would have had the video. Wouldn't have mattered if they withheld my phone or whatever. By the way, I still don't have my gun yet. We're still working on how I get my gun back, because now I'm free and clear. Give me my gun. I want that. I want that gun. By the way, I don't know if any of you out there are interested in this. If you live in Washington, I'm just curious. Would you be interested in an open carry march going down the same path on the public sidewalk? We will not veer into private property, but down the same path that I was arrested in? I'm just curious if there's a market out there. If there's enough people that message me at facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, if there's enough people that are actually interested in this, I'll fly back. I'll come back to Washington to march with you if you're willing to march with me. So message me, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can go to Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. I'd love to see 100 armed people just walking peacefully up the sidewalk. And I would love to see people pick up where I left off, because my original plan before we moved, because I was planning on going out there every week, like every Tuesday or something, and just marching up and down that street, talking to people about gun rights, asserting my rights, doing all the stuff that I've already talked about, all the reasons why. But I was planning on doing that once a week, same time of day, same day, every week, and just getting into this conversation, like I said, and not letting the media control the narrative about firearms being bad or evil or any of this stuff. Actually participating in that conversation and taking control of the narrative about firearms. Guns are not evil. They're inanimate objects. They are tools. And like any tool, they can be used for good or evil. It's all about the person. It's all about the person using the tool. And you can easily identify the difference between a person who's being hostile with the gun and a person that is not. So anyway, let's go ahead and shift focus here. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Let's see. Okay, so the civil case. By the way, before we get into the civil case, I remember what I was saying. If you guys are interested in me going up to Washington, let me know. Message me, Twitter, Facebook, On The Move Show. Let me know, and I may be planning a trip. I may have to organize some event. But if there's a demand for it, I will come out there. I just think that would be a great way, and hopefully somebody will pick up where I left off and go out there and be activists in their community and springboard off of what I have done and use this to fight back against the way this department is acting. Again, I firmly believe that we can work with these people to have a better relationship and a better understanding. Like CJ, I'd love to see absolutely no conflict, no issues when we go out to open carry. Make for very boring videos, but that's what I want. I want boring videos. I didn't want, again, the whole time I was out there walking around, I was saying, wow, congratulations, Vancouver. Especially right before I got picked up, I said, wow, congratulations, Vancouver. You have, you either, as people, are knowledgeable about your gun rights and you didn't, call the police for no reason, or you have a police department that respects the rule of law and they know that open carry is legal, so they haven't come out here and hassle me. Well, little did I know that a few minutes later they were going to come and hassle me and all this stuff we talked about and then unlawfully arrest me. So I was hoping that nothing would happen. I was hoping no one would see me and freak out, and I was hoping that I genuinely wanted to talk to people about gun rights. That was something I was excited to do, to go out and talk to people and explain to them things that they didn't know, like you don't need a permit to open carry. You don't need to register your firearm in Washington State. I was excited to explain to them the laws. And all of this happened. So now the civil case. Okay, so civil case, it's getting started. We're going to be working on this. I'll give you more information and updates as time goes on. If you want to get updates about the case, send me your email address in an email titled Add Me to OnTheMoveShow@gmail.com. Again, OnTheMoveShow@gmail.com. You'll receive updates about what's going on with the case, our podcast, our YouTube channel. I don't spam you. I only send things about those things. So, I don't have a whole bunch of stuff happening all at once. So if we do have an event, something going on as well, you can email me, and you'll get information about that event. If we end up coming to Washington State to do that march, you'll get that event link if we send it. I try very hard not to spam people on our email list. Let's just put it there. And I also won't share your email, FYI, at least not willingly. I will protect your information as much as I possibly can, and even if the government asks for it, I will not give it to them willingly. So, anyway, let's see what's next. Okay, so the civil case, we're gonna be doing that, and updates will be coming. So let's actually, that's enough about me. I'm done talking about me. Let's talk about first things first. Let's talk about the store on the show. Now that you've sat through all of this, I'm imagining that you guys are the hardcore cadre of open carriers, people who support open carries. So let me just throw this plug in here. If you're interested and you like the design, only if you like it. If you don't want it, I don't want your charity, guys. I don't want your money just because. I want to provide a service to you that you want. So I happen to think that these shirts on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com, clicking the shop link, you'll see it right there. The shirts, the hoodies, the coffee mugs, the phone cases that we are offering with our original designs, like the I Heart Open Carry design. Awesome design. My wife made this. I love this design. If you like it and you want to support the program, you want to support what we're doing, if you like it, feel free to get it. If you don't worry about it. It's no big deal. But I figure I'll put that information out. We got that bear arm shirt. We got the, again, that's a bear with the word arms over it. I think it's pretty funny. And the Be Libertarian shirt, again, you can check this out at OnTheMoveShow.com. Again, OnTheMoveShow.com. And we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we got 15 minutes or so left in the show. So I want to do some news roundup stuff. I'm just going to go to a website and see what's going on in the news, and we'll talk about it. All right, we'll be right back.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore. With the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
All right, so let's go ahead and I promised one of the things that I would talk about was we're going to do a news roundup, but also the Libertarian Party. Why this is the year for the Libertarian Party. I have been really given a lot of thought about this. We touched on this last week. I am very, very adamant that the Republican Party is not the home for the conservatives anymore. With Donald Trump in this race, again, Donald Trump, he's not even advocating for conservatives to vote for him. He's not even saying that he wants our vote. He's not even trying to get the votes. I mean, that's the we're being told right now, and this is insane to me. We're being told, and I hear this over and over and over and over again, a vote for Libertarian is a vote for Hillary Clinton. First of all, I see no real difference between these two characters, or rather caricatures. I see no real difference. But more importantly, no. As I said last week, and I've been banging this drum this whole time, I've been begging and pleading the Republican Party not to do this. Do not put Trump up as the candidate, because I can't vote for him. You do that, you put me in a position that I can't vote for him. I've made the decision. I'm never voting progressive again. I'm tired. I just don't believe you anymore, GOP. You've told me so many times, yeah, we just got to win the election. We'll do what you want, but you'd never do. You never do. The only way for me to win now is to vote for candidates who are on the ideological playing field with me. And again, you say that, I'm giving my vote to Hillary. No, I'm not. I'm actually giving my vote to a Libertarian candidate, and you're acting like Trump is somehow entitled to my vote. simply because he's a Republican. Look, I don't care about parties. He's got to earn my vote. All right, my vote doesn't come free just because you got a little R in front of your name. What if the positions were reversed here, by the way? What if Donald Trump, because again, Donald Trump, he's run as a Democrat, he's run as several different parties, he's run as an independent, now he's running as a Republican. What if he was a Democrat? Would that change anything? Would you suddenly be voting for the Democratic Party this year if Donald Trump was running instead of Hillary? What if Hillary had switched too and she was a Republican? You could do that and it doesn't matter. There's no freaking difference here. We're being told to vote on somebody because of the little letter that they have before or after their name. They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter. So no, Donald Trump, my vote doesn't belong to him. He has to earn my vote, and he's failed to do that. In addition, Donald Trump, he says that if you were nasty to him, then he doesn't want your vote. And you don't need to be part of the unification process in the Republican Party. You can just go your own way. Here's what he says. This is his words.
The question is, I do love self-funding, and I don't want anything for myself, but we do need money for the party. The party will come together. I don't think it's imperative that the entire party come together. I don't want everybody. I don't
like the conservatives
even want certain people that were extraordinarily nasty. Let them go their own way. Let them wait 8 years or let them wait 16 years or whatever, because I think we're going to have a great success against probably Hillary, because the system is totally rigged against Bernie. Yeah. I mean, totally rigged against him. So probably we're going to have Hillary.
All right. He's just yammering on there. So, again, Donald Trump is not even interested in your vote. If you were nasty to him, and he defines that as somebody who asks a hard question, like Megyn Kelly, by the way. Megyn Kelly asked him a tough question, and he treated this woman like she was the worst person on earth. He tried to ruin her, discredit her, get her. He said he wasn't going to go to the debates because of her. She was there as a moderator. All of this stuff. Donald Trump just can't handle the hard questions. And on Morning Joe, not too long ago, in fact, since we're here, we might as well Google this here. Donald Trump was on with Morning Joe. Let me find that. Donald Trump, Morning Joe, no hard questions. All right, let's see here. Hot Mic, Trump and Morning Joe anchors get friendly on Hot Mic. This could be it. It could not be. We'll see. Here we go.
I make a speech, get on a plane, make a speech. I'm working.
Well, I tell you what, the Bloomberg poll, all the polls out today look great in South Carolina. All of them.
Yeah. They look good. Well, but I'm being hit. They're spending $75 million in negative ads on me over the last 2 weeks.
All right, so this is a Hot Mic. He didn't know this conversation's being recorded, and this gives you an insight into what he's doing here, how he's playing the media here. He doesn't want people to ask him tough questions. Here we go.
Are they catching on at all?
No.
What do you think? Are they catching on?
No.
It's vicious. They're spending a tremendous amount on negative ads on me.
No. You know what I thought was the kind of wow moment was the guy you brought up on stage.
Yeah, that was good.
We played it several times this morning.
We played it up against Obama.
Both guys. Both guys.
What we did is we played Obama first.
The young guy
and then we
champ.
played the guys.
I saw it. I watched your show this morning. You have me almost as a legendary figure. I like.
No, I tell you, this morning what we basically said today was we were completely wrong about the.
Totally.
We have one more segment.
One more segment, and then we're good. Thank you for doing this.
Okay, so now they're about ready to come back on air. Here goes the part that I think this is the conversation that you're going to hear, where the female anchor says, do you mind if I talk to you about this? And he's like, no hard questions.
I'm doing it because I get nothing. You get great ratings and a raise. Me, I get nothing.
We're getting a real window into your...
Well...
Just make us all look good, that's right.
Exactly.
So how...
Just make us all look good. Just make us look good. He wants people that are in his pocket. Megyn Kelly wouldn't be in his pocket. He tried to destroy her. Here we go.
Come Drudge and Time Magazine said I won the debate, Joe, and you think
but so did the CBS poll. The next morning when I saw the CBS poll, I knew.
Second, but
but still, I knew that the people that mattered didn't think you lost it. I mean, you came in a strong second, and I'll tell you what was the most revealing thing is Bush came in last.
He came in last.
The guy you fought came in last.
He's a weak person.
And at that point, I said to Mika, we don't know what
he's a weak person.
Happen.
He's a weak person.
Okay. Do you don't want me to do the ones with deportation?
We really have to go to some questions.
That's right. Nothing too hard, Mika.
Okay.
Do you want me to ask a question about immigration? Nothing too hard, Mika. I don't want to have to think. Oh no. So this is what we see. So Donald Trump, he thinks that people that ask him tough questions, that think outside the box, think on their own, think for themselves, he thinks that you're being nasty. And I will remind you that Donald Trump does not want people to vote for him who has been nasty. He doesn't want your votes anyway. Again, here's the clip.
The question is, I do love self-funding, and I don't want anything for myself, but we do need money for the party. The party will come together. I don't think it's imperative that the entire party come together. I don't want everybody. I don't even want certain people that were extraordinarily nasty. Let them go their own way. Let them wait 8 years, or let...
All right, so, again, let them go their own way. He's not interested in the conservatives who were talking about his record, asking the tough questions, just like he did with Megyn Kelly. He throws a fit, makes a big stink about the question. It's unfair, it's unfair. Is that how he's going to react to Putin? You know what I mean? If Putin does something, he's like, oh, no fair, Putin, that's not fair. No. Look, the guy is a crybaby, honestly. A big crybaby. And not only is he a progressive and I can't vote for him, but he's also a crybaby who is demanding that, actually, not even his supporters are demanding that I vote for him, even though he hasn't earned my vote, hasn't even had the dignity to ask for it. He says he doesn't want people who are nasty to him. He doesn't want your vote. He doesn't need the entire party. Again, his idea is to create a Democrat light with a nationalist spin to it, essentially. Protectionist, nationalist spin to it. We're heading for dark days. Dark days. And we lost. I just want you to know, Donald Trump getting the GOP nomination at this point in history, bad news. Bad news. We're heading for dark days. We have lost a pretty significant race right here. And we need to start thinking long term. This is why this is the year for the Libertarian Party. I'm urging the conservatives out there, please, for the love of Pete, please, vote Libertarian this year. There's plenty of room in that party for you. We agree, myself being a Libertarian with some conservative leanings, we agree on so many things. We may disagree on a lot of things, but you know what we do agree on is that the government ought to be smaller. And we can come together on ways that we can make that happen. I think ultimately that's where we're heading, and we need to start thinking long term. The Republican Party is no longer the vehicle for that small government message. We have a candidate at the reins who's not even talking about the Constitution. I have yet to hear him mention the Constitution once. Doesn't mean he hasn't, but it's not a prevalent argument that he says over and over. And I follow the news. I pay attention. I eat, breathe, live, sleep this crap, all right? Man, I have no life. So, I've never heard him say anything about the Constitution. I have heard Ted Cruz. I've heard the Libertarian Party. You know, I think that there is a common denominator that we can come together, and we're probably not going to win this year, just so you know. If the Libertarian Party, even if all the conservatives in the party went over to the Libertarian Party, it's not going to be enough, I don't think. But it will take wind out of the sails of the Republican Party, show that it's collapsing from within, and realize Donald Trump's going to get smashed this election, I think. I could be wrong, but I think he's going to be smashed. There's a lot of factors at play here. Hillary Clinton is incredibly weak, so he could win. He could very well win. If we had a strong Republican candidate, I think we would win. I just don't think Donald Trump is that strong candidate. He's offering progressive light when you have a choice of progressive. Why would you choose progressive light over progressive if you are a progressive? He's trying to bring progressives into the Republican Party. Again, with that, you're just not going to get that option. So what we need is for the conservatives to vote Libertarian. We're not going to win this year. But what it will do is for the next election, we'll pass that 15% threshold that will allow the Libertarians to get on the national debate stage. And we need to start thinking long-term at how we're going to affect the culture and talk to people and educate them on the Constitution and why small government answers are better for their lives. We have to completely revamp our branding and our messaging and find a new vehicle for this constitutional movement, because we're about to go dark. And the Republican Party is not that vehicle anymore. The Republican Party is dead. Anyway, that's our show for today, gang. I certainly appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for CJ Grisham for tuning in this show. Mack Pack here, the tip of the spear. Thanks for tuning in week after week. Don't forget to check us out on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com, here at Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter, Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.